got the graphic for the show, so I think it's always a good starting point, always a good starting place to jump into that. So let's bring that on screen. So we've got Mark Briscoe taking on Roosh. This is in the Continental Classic. We've got Jon Moxley against Jay Lethal as well. And we've got Jay White against Swerve Strickland. So this is the Gold League. So I don't know if we're doing Gold League every Wednesday and Blue League every Saturday. I'm guessing we probably are, because these are the people that we saw last week. So, because obviously we saw Moxley, Briscoe, I believe it was, and we saw Jay White in action, we saw Swerve in action. So I think Gold League on a Wednesday, Blue League on a Saturday, as we head towards World's End, where we're going to get to the semi-finals and the final and all of that jazz. We've got not really much to report. I mean, look, you got Bryan Danielson, who's going to be on commentary, and obviously very interesting news that he was the person that was heading up that investigation into CM Punk. I actually feel really sorry for him, because I don't think he would have like an alternative motive. Like, you know, if it was the Elite that were on the board, we know that the Elite obviously had issues with CM Punk. I actually think Danielson, from what I know, has always had a really good relationship with CM Punk. So I think he was put in a very difficult situation, one that he wanted to make sure he was being fair to all sides. And I think, you know, he's come up with the result that he's come up with. And I'm sure there's people that are going to be critical. It'll be interesting to see kind of what reaction he gets on commentary when he comes out. I don't think, though, that people are going to be down on him, because if you're an AEW fan, you're probably pretty upset that CM Punk's gone to WWE and, you know, basically gone back on everything he's been saying. So I don't know that Danielson's really going to be painted in that bad of a light. So, but it'll be interesting. You know, I genuinely don't know kind of if everyone is going to be loving Danielson going forward in AEW. I find the mindset of AEW fans quite difficult to read, because like it just seems to be changing and evolving so much. And we can kind of come back to that, because I think there is an interesting conversation there on the evolving and changing nature of AEW's fan base. I mean, we've touched on before how it started from New Japan, and then we've been seeing people from New Japan coming into little to no reaction. And that suggests that their fan base has evolved and changed from the fan base that was around when this promotion first started. And it's only been 4 years. So, you know, it's an interesting conversation, one that we can come back to. And we've got TNT champion, the patriarch, Christian Cage. He's going to be responding to Adam Copeland. We're in the Target Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And as we said, that's the graphic that we've got for it. I don't know if there's been some other bits that have been announced. We can quickly jump over to AEW. And of course, as always, I want to get into the chat and see what you lot are saying. Trenton has just sent me, what's this? Triple H wasn't at Raw. Heard that. Bruce was running it. Due to Triple H and Nick Khan being in LA, securing a media rights deal for Monday Night Raw. As a reminder right now, SmackDown and NXT are on CW. No, SmackDown's on USA. NXT's on CW. Raw will not be on USA. Rumored it's going to be FX and Amazon. That's interesting. Why would Triple H and Nick Khan be in LA securing a media rights deal? That's not Triple H's gig. That's a board level thing. So I'm guessing because he's basically, you know, he is a key player. Perhaps they just wanted him to be there as things were getting finalized. But I don't think he's going there to negotiate the deal and get stuff over. There's other people definitely doing that, not Triple H. But maybe they did want him to be there for when that deal was done, and he's fully aware of, you know, the expectations and everything, because he is clearly a big player. So rumors coming from PW Insider, apparently, that's why Triple H wasn't at Raw. So Trenton, shout out to you. Right, and yeah, people talking about the ratings, we can get to that as well. One thing I just wanted to do is I just wanted to have a look at AEW and just see if anything else had been announced, and then we can get into the chat. If we go down, we've got a lot of Ric Flair being mentioned. Ric Flair is on the show tonight. Here we go, AEW All Elite Wrestling. News about All In, Mark Briscoe Roosh. Julia Hart, Emi Sakura has been announced for tonight. So TBS title match, Julia Hart against Emi Sakura. I think that might be it. That might be the only other addition. Is there no Timeless Tony Storm? Oh, and Sammy Guevara and Ty Conti have had a baby, if that it floats your boat. But meet and greets. Right, that's it. Yeah, no, that looks like it's everything at the moment. Right, let's get into the chat then. Obviously, there's Raw ratings and Dynamite Collision ratings and Rampage ratings and things for us to talk about, but I'm sure we'll get to them as we get to them. Aubrey said, I don't think for 1 second Daniel was alone in firing Punk. The Young Bucks' influence, it always is. They celebrated and ran round the ring like toddlers when it happened. It's always them. Kieran said, I want to see WWE versus AEW like War Games or something. Not JPEG said, should WWE really go with a Punk versus Reigns feuds? Well, I don't mind it as long as it's after he loses the title. I mean, I think Cody is the one that needs to finish the story. I think Hasib was the one that asked the question the other day. It stuck in my mind because it was a good question of, like, how would you feel if it was CM Punk that ended the title reign? And it's a good question because it is potentially a reality. I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't campaign for it. I think that Cody is the one that should end it. And I think Cody is the one that will end it. And I think that CM Punk Roman is something they're looking at doing maybe SummerSlam. Maybe that's what they're looking at for SummerSlam, doing that as the SummerSlam match. I mean, Cody can defend the titles against whoever, Gunther, whoever, right? And then CM Punk and Roman. I mean, if we're going to get whatever we're going to get at WrestleMania 40 with Roman, CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, you know, all the big names that we've got, I'm sure we bring in like a John Cena or whoever, right? Obviously, you got the women as well, Becky and Charlotte and Bianca and Asuka and Bayley and Damage Control and blah, blah, blah. And I'm sure there'll be a sprinkling of celebrity. There'll be a sprinkling of legends. And it's WrestleMania 40 as well. I mean, it's an anniversary show. I mean, it's going to be one of the biggest WrestleManias we've ever seen. I think that show already feels massive. The Rumble feels massive. I think SummerSlam could be massive. So, you know, a Roman Reigns CM Punk match in 2024 or 2025, I think it would be a shame if we didn't get it. I don't particularly need a feud in regards to lots of matches. I don't need them to like be wrestling at SummerSlam and then wrestling at whatever show is going to follow it. Sometimes it can be Payback or whatever, but I don't need like a series of matches really between them. I think just one and done. SummerSlam, build up to it. Who's the better? Who's going to get the win? And I would give it Punk. And the reason why I'd give it Punk is because I think we've just basically spent 3 years building Roman up as big as we can build him up. I don't know that we can get Roman any bigger. I mean, he's beaten everybody. And really, I feel like we're at the point now where it's time for him to give back a little bit. And 2024 could be a year of him really giving back. And so it could be that he drops the title to Cody and then puts CM Punk over. We had an interesting conversation the other day about Punk, and I was saying that I think that Punk's a massive star, but it's hard to gauge. If we was to do a ranking right now of everyone in WWE, S tier, A tier, B tier, all that kind of stuff, I think Punk would go into S tier, but there's just something about it where he doesn't feel like he's on Roman's level, right? He does to the wrestling fans, like, to me, because he's been a big part of the conversation for God knows how long, right? 15 years, 20 years, whatever. He feels like he's on Roman's level. But if you look at it from how many title reigns did he have, or how long was his title reigns? I mean, if you compare his achievements to Roman's achievements, if you think about how many times the Bloodline opened and closed SmackDown, if you think about how many times Roman has main evented pay-per-views, I don't think CM Punk comes close to those numbers. I think achievement-wise, number-wise, if you want to get into the data, I think Roman blows CM Punk away. CM Punk has provided big moments like the pipe bomb and the John Cena moment and everything, but so has Roman. Roman has provided big moments. And I think that I understand they're kind of around the same area, but I've just got Roman slightly ahead. I think that Roman losing to CM Punk would help CM Punk. And you've got to remember as well, we talk a lot about this, and I believe it to be true. There's a lot of people that get into wrestling every single week. There's a lot of people that don't know CM Punk. I mean, look, he came back in Chicago, massive pop. The pop was still big in Nashville. It wasn't quite as big. You've got a lot of families. You've got a lot of kids. You've got a lot of people getting into wrestling for the first time every week, right? Somewhere in the world. And of course, in the US as well. CM Punk's been gone for nearly 10 years. You could have got into wrestling when AJ Styles made his debut at the Royal Rumble. You could have got into WWE and you wouldn't have heard of CM Punk. I mean, of course, you might have got the network. You probably went back. You probably watched some of the old stuff. You may have gone into the forums and all this kind of stuff. But you've got to really go out your way to do that. If you're a casual fan that just tunes into wrestling once in a while, watches a few shows when you can, but watches the pay-per-views, and there's plenty of those casual fans, then your exposure to CM Punk has not been that great. So we've got to do a bit of a reintroduction, if you will. And of course, you know, the loud wrestling fans that are cheering him, and like the fact WWE are making him out as the best in the world, obviously his catchphrase, and the fact that he's so good on the microphone. I mean, I thought his promo was excellent. I know there was a lot of criticism of it, or I think it was a mixed bag. To be honest, I saw people criticizing it, saying he was PG, he was watered down, he didn't really say anything. I think they're wrong. I think that he said just enough. If he'd have gone further, he might have given you too much. You see, the thing is, he didn't really give away what his next step is going to be, because they want you to tune in to find out what his next step is going to be. They gave you just enough whereby you got that moment of, oh my God, he's in a WWE ring. You got that moment where you're like, am I seeing this? Is this actually happening? And he came down to the ring and he said stuff like, I'm home, which is, I mean, who expected him to say that? I'm home. And he spoke about how scary that was to admit, because it's corny. It's not very CM Punk, but he's also scared of how true it is. And he mentioned AJ Lee, which was cool. Nice little references of the wise man. Nice little reference of the American dream. And as I said in my little breakdown of it, which I really appreciate people watching, by the way, said, like, for me, it was in two parts. The first part was, I've come back for you, the fans. You never forgot my name. I always heard you. You know, Dusty told me to tell the truth. The truth is I'm home. I've changed. The wise man told me that I was going to have to go away and come back, and he was right. And it was all like this very kind of like, not personal, but I suppose quite soft. And I suppose this is what people have got the problem with, is that they don't like this side of CM Punk. They wanted him to come out and fire shots at other wrestlers. That is coming. That will happen. CM Punk is still CM Punk. But I think that this wasn't really the promo that we had to do that for. This promo, we needed to bring him back. We needed to sort of introduce him to a load of people that have never been exposed to CM Punk. We needed him to just sort of answer a few things, which it's debatable if he answered them. But I think he answered them in a different way. He didn't come in and explain, this is why I said all the bad things that I said and everything. but he sort of took all of that away by saying, I'm home. When he said, I'm scared to admit this, but this is my home and I'm home, that said more than him going through everything he's said in the past and explaining it all line by line. Because with that one comment, he's basically just erased all the negativity. You know, it's kind of like I'm back. I needed this place. I missed this place. Maybe that explains why he was saying what he was saying. Maybe it was coming from a place of being bitter. Perhaps it was a frustration at the fact that it hadn't worked out. Perhaps it was a frustration that he had fumbled that bag, and he didn't blame himself for it, but the bag had still been fumbled. You know, had he have stayed with WWE over the last 10 years, he would have made a lot more money. His profile would be a lot bigger, right? He would be a more successful person, dare I say. Yeah, he got to follow his dream of doing UFC, but that didn't work. He went to AEW and we saw what happened there, you know, and had it have worked with him staying in WWE and had he have been respected the way that he was respected, maybe then he would have been a bigger star. He would have had more title reigns. He would have main evented WrestleMania more. He would have had a lot more money, right? So perhaps it was a case that all of it was coming from a place of anger, bitterness, frustration, this massive opportunity falling away from him. They could not get it to work. He couldn't make it work. And I feel, and maybe I'm reading too deep into it, but I feel that I'm home. This is where I belong. I've changed. I feel like that says a hell of a lot more than just those few words actually say. So for me, I that first bit was great. And then the second bit, I mean, he did sort of have a little pop by saying not everyone had welcomed him back, and saying that people are afraid, and saying that they're afraid because I got that brass ring in my back pocket and they can't grab it. They're afraid because this is where the best in the world compete, but the best in the world hasn't been here for 10 years. They're afraid because in this ring, on this microphone, even on commentary, I'm the best in the world. They can't hang with what he does. So, you know, he's kind of painting a picture as to why Seth reacted the way he reacted, why Drew reacted the way he reacted. He's saying they're afraid. That's why they're doing it. They're afraid. They're afraid because they know I am this good. So there was a little something that was still in there. You know, there was still a little something that was in that second part where it had a little more venom to it. I just think people had a certain expectation and it didn't meet their expectation. But I think at times the promo still delivered and exceeded what I was looking for. So I've said as well, you know, if you're someone that doesn't like Punk, or if you're a diehard AEW fan, I don't know that he could have come out and said anything that would have made you love that promo. I think that if you love Punk, I think you probably enjoyed it. I think if you hate Punk, you probably hated it. I think if you're in the middle, that would probably be the most interesting, to listen to those people and see what those people had to say. And I think the majority would have been impressed with his delivery if they've not seen him before. And I think some of those lines and some of those moments would have stood out to them. But I could also understand them wanting him to really take aim at Seth or something along those lines. But I was thinking about that, and I was thinking they're doing a really good job of making it very confusing as to whether it's a work or whether it's real. Because if Seth had walked out, then we would know that we're building to that Seth match first, right? Had Seth have walked out to give him another piece of his mind, then it does start to like work towards it being a feud. And then, of course, if they're going to actually feud in the ring, then we know that it was all work, right? So I think the fact that Seth didn't come out, the fact that CM Punk didn't name him, just sort of further kind of kept you in the dark as to whether are they keeping them apart? Has Triple H said to CM Punk, don't name Seth. Don't say anything about Seth. If you do, he's going to go off like a flipping bottle rocket, right? We don't need that drama. Just stick to your promo, right? Now, of course, reports are coming out the first feud, according to Sports Illustrated, is going to be Seth. So that's the first report that's come out. saying that it is going to go that way. And it does feel like it should go that way. But I think the fact that they didn't confront each other, they were kept apart, he didn't name check him, which I could totally believe Triple H going, please don't mention Seth. Don't mention him by name, please. I could totally believe that. So again, the fact that he didn't take shots at Seth, I actually think was a positive, not a negative, because I think that further kept us in the dark, like as to whether it was a work or not. Because to be honest, right now, CM Punk could pick a fight with someone else, couldn't he? And he could go off and feud with someone else, and they could keep CM Punk and Seth apart. And if they don't feud and they're kept apart, I think anyone that's convinced it was a shoot, anyone that was convinced it was a work, they will start to question that then. I think people are thinking it's a work because it's going to lead to Seth and CM Punk. If it doesn't lead to that, people then might start thinking it was a shoot. So I think that this is something that is interesting. You got to be very careful when you do this promo. You don't want to give too much away and kind of take it a step at a time, which I think they're doing, because I do believe them when they say that this came together last minute. And so I think that the creative for CM Punk is really close to non-existent. I mean, if it turned out they didn't quite know what they were going to do with him at WrestleMania and all that stuff at the moment, I could believe that. Because, if reports are to be believed, heads of creative didn't even know that CM Punk was coming back during Survivor Series. So that means that they've only had Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, here we are, Wednesday, to actually sit down and go, right, what are we going to do with him? Maybe they've got it planned now, but it would only be like the past few days that they will have been working on that. And as we said, everything's changed, everything's ripped up, we're in a new direction, we're in a new world. So yeah, I think it was there's so many conversations for us to have. It's just amazing, isn't it? Wrestling's just in such a great place at the moment. Mitchell, shout out to you, said, did you see that Mercedes posted a training video? Punk is listed as a free agent on the roster. That's interesting. I would keep him on Raw. I mean, I think that Fox, when does it move? I think it's the end of the year, isn't it? I mean, I suppose Fox have paid a lot of money for SmackDown. And even though they're not renewing, you still owe them the show, the best show you can give them, because they've paid for the best show, and they've paid a lot of money as well. So I suppose having him free to go wherever is a good thing, a fine thing. I think I would largely be keeping him on Raw. I feel like Raw needs him. I feel like with Logan, because I think Logan's back Friday. With Logan, who's a big social media star, might not be a big wrestling star, but he's still a big personality. With Roman, who hopefully is going to come back at some point. And a few other people over there. I mean, the women's division is stacked on SmackDown with Bianca and Charlotte and Asuka and Damage Control. I mean, it is stacked in the women's division. So with an LA Knight, of course, can't forget LA Knight and how popular he is. So SmackDown is pretty stacked at the moment. I think that 3 hours of Raw is very difficult to book, and I think their women's division is not as established. Tag division, I don't think ever really brings in the ratings, certainly because WWE never really get that plate properly spinning. So you can't really lean on that. So you can only lean on the men's division, and that's Seth, Drew, Sammy, Jey Uso. You've got Cody Rhodes, which is great. But I feel like across 3 hours, I feel like CM Punk should be based more on Raw. But if he's free to pop up on SmackDown, that's great. And Mercedes training again, brilliant. Yeah, I mean, I am expecting her back soon. She did her ankle. I mean, I broke my ankle back in 2005, and it took me 6 months to recover, fully recover. I was out for not even quite that, I don't think. I think it was a little shorter, actually, but I was out for the summer, basically, of 2005 after breaking my ankle at work. So I know roughly how long it takes. I know what that recovery looks like. And I mean, she's had enough time now. I mean, she did it in May. It's now end of November. Maybe hers was a bit worse than mine. I don't know. But either way, she should be ready. I mean, I can imagine that she is like obviously working on building up her strength in her foot and all that stuff and getting back in the ring. And so, yeah, I think World's End for Mercedes looks pretty good. I don't know if she has already signed with AEW. Clearly, I think she might have. I mean, she was at Wembley. So the fact she was at Wembley certainly implies that there's been talks, certainly implies they're either far down the road, very far down the road to the fact where she's willing to be shown on camera in the crowd, or she's even actively signed and they just haven't been able to use her yet. So I think that there's probably a chance that she can't return to WWE, that she's, you know, unfortunately, the CM Punk thing is amazing news, but it's just kind of come a little bit too late for her to sign with WWE, because there have been some rumors that she might be tempted to go back there now. And I also think like what we're doing with the women is quite interesting at the moment. Like there feels like there's a lot of good fresh matches for her in WWE, but we looked at her age. She's 31. I mean, she's 31, so she's got so much time. She could do a year with AEW, and of course, if you work with AEW, you can still work with New Japan. They've got that relationship. So, like, I think there's a few matches left for her in New Japan / Stardom, a few matches that she wants. And I think there's a few matches in AEW she would be interested in. So she could do, like, I don't know if she signed a year or 2 years. But even if it's 2 years, she'll be 33, going on 34. She could go back to WWE and have a good 5, 6, 7, 8 years in WWE. So I don't know where she is with her contract. And I don't know what it is that she'll decide to do. I think that Tony will give her a very competitive offer. Clearly, the bigger show or brand to go to would be WWE, but she's been there and she was very frustrated, and not just once. You know, she was very frustrated a few times where she had to step away for her mental health. But that was Vince. And I think Triple H has shown, with NXT in particular, that he gets women's wrestling a bit better. He values it a bit more. And I think that she must be looking at the changes that happened at WWE. And she must be thinking to herself, like, I need to get back there at some point. I don't think her relationship with WWE is as bad now as it was when she walked out. And I think WWE would welcome her back with open arms. I know that she walked out. I know that there are people that are still down on it. I understand. I was down on her walking out. I was not someone that supported her walking out. I've never changed my tune on that. People were very split at the time as to, was she right to do it? Was she wrong to do it? I've been very consistent. I think she was wrong to do it, and I still stand by that. Haven't changed my tune at all. But I think there's been a lot of water under the bridge. I think that there was failings on WWE's side as well. Doesn't excuse her walking out, but I think that clearly the procedure backstage for getting across your frustrations, I mean, there's going to be times where you get your frustrations across where changes can't be made. Like, this is the plan. This is what we're doing. And if you had every wrestler come into you backstage saying, I want this changed, I want that changed, you would never get anywhere. Someone's got to say, this is what we're doing. Someone's got to say, no, I pay you to do what you're asked to do, right? I want your input. But if we don't think your input is the direction we want to go, well, then tough. I mean, it's not the direction we're going. You're not paid for creative. You're paid to perform the creative that's predetermined and pre-decided, right? It's a fine line because you don't want to disrespect the wrestlers and you do want their input. But there's going to be times where you're going to have to say, no, we can't do that, right? And that's fine. She's not paid to be part of creative. So for me, like, the fact that she then took a ball and went home was wrong. And it was wrong when Stone Cold did it back in the day, and he's apologized for it as well. He said that it was wrong for him to do that. So I understand why people would be upset. I don't know that everyone would now. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of water that's gone under that bridge. I feel like there's been so much that's happened. I mean, you're talking about something that happened in the middle of 2002. We're nearly in 2024, right? So for her to come back now, I think would be, time heals all wounds. I mean, look at CM Punk. Look at all the stuff he's been saying, and CM Punk's come back. So and people are throwing babies in the air, welcoming him back. So I would feel the same about Sasha returning as well. No problem, no harm done. Sorry that went down the way it went down. No one won. WWE lost a big name, a big star. Sasha ended up going, and all right, she might have had a bit of fun, but I don't think she would have made the money that she would have made in WWE. I don't think that she's been used in matches as high profile. I mean, I've seen a couple of her matches in some pretty small looking arenas in Japan, which it's not about that. I really respect the fact she went and she didn't go into acting. Sasha walked out of WWE. She carried on being a wrestler. You got to respect that. That says that it's really in her blood. It's really what she wants to do. It's what she wants to be. She's not playing at this. This is what she wants to be. I've got a lot of respect for that. She could have gone to Hollywood and done TV shows or, explored other opportunities, but she didn't. She went to New Japan, she went to Stardom, and she wrestled some of the best women's wrestlers in the world. So, respect. I've got respect for that. I got respect for the fact that she loves Japanese women's wrestling. She loves women's wrestling. She wants to still contribute that even outside WWE. So, sometimes you can look at these people and think, what are their intentions? Are they in it just to raise their profile? Are they in it for the payday? Like, what's their intentions? But seeing her go to Japan and compete against the Japanese girls and in some not that big venues, to be honest, respect. So, yeah, I would have no problem welcoming her back. So good if she's training, but I don't know that she lands in WWE. Daniel said, I've only just joined. I'm sorry if it's been asked, but did you see that the pre-sale went up yesterday? They've sold about 28,000 tickets with a lot of time to spare. I hadn't seen that. No, I hadn't seen that they'd sold 28,000 tickets. I mean, that's great. That's fantastic for them. I think they'll struggle to get the 70, 80,000 that they did. I can't see them doing better than last year. My guess would be that it would be, I'm struggling to see them do the same as last year because the product seems stale. The ratings seem a bit flat. They've lost CM Punk, of course, and plus this isn't the first time as well. So it'll be interesting to see what that number is, what that number finishes up being. But my guess is that it will probably clock up to about 60,000, 60-something thousand. I think it will be down on what they did last year. But even 60-something thousand, I've said this last year or earlier this year, if they can do over 60,000 or even over 55,000, I think you've then justified Wembley. I don't know what the number would be for it to make money, right? I don't know what the number is, because I don't know how much it would cost to rent Wembley, and I don't know how much it would cost to fly everyone over, the staging, the scale of putting that kind of an event on abroad. I don't know how much that costs. There will be a number, clearly, which means that there's a number of tickets that need to be sold to cover expenses. That number might be 30,000. That number might be 35,000. I honestly don't know what that number is. But what I do know is that if you sell, say, 55,000 or 60,000, just from an attendance point of view, right? Forget what the break-even number is, but just from an attendance point of view, there's not many other stadiums in London that are going to give you or allow you that kind of a number. I mean, I think the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, where they do some NFL games, that's got like a 60-something thousand, I think it's 50-something or 60-something thousand capacity. So if you're going to do 55 or 60,000, you could have gone to Tottenham, right? There's also a big rugby stadium in London called Twickenham that can hold 80,000. But to be honest, I don't know of any events they do there. You could go there. It's a stadium. It's ready to be used, but there's never been wrestling there to my knowledge. I don't even know. They must do some concerts there, but I never see that many Twickenham concerts, you know? It's weird, actually. I'd say that's a kind of a forgotten stadium. It never gets really spoken about that much, but there's definitely stuff that goes on there, mainly rugby, but I'm sure there's the odd show that gets put on at Twickenham. But you could go there as well. But really, outside of that, I don't think Arsenal's stadium is big enough for like 60,000. It might just be. Chelsea's, I don't think, is. And really, outside of that, I think that's it for big stadiums in London. Outside of that, I think that's it. So, you know, once you get to that kind of 55, 60,000 mark, you're really limiting the places that you could go to fit that amount of people in anyway. So for me, that would be the number, whatever the break-even number is where I'm not going to lose money. If it's 35,000, 40,000, that's my first target. Then my next target is justify the fact I'm at Wembley, right? If I sell 55,000 or 60,000 tickets, there's not many other places. I couldn't have gone to the O2, right? The O2 arena can hold 20-something thousand, right? So I couldn't have gone there. So I then need to justify it. And then really anything above that is a bonus ball. I know that when you sell or say I'm going to do Wembley, everyone immediately goes, you're going to try and sell 90,000 tickets. But you don't really have to. You don't really have to sell 90,000 tickets to justify being in Wembley. Because, as I said, as long as you're hitting those certain benchmarks, I think there are other things to focus on before you completely sell the venue out, right? And I think the main one is going to be justify being in that arena, 55, 60,000. You've not got many other options. So if they've already done 29,000, that's great. That's a good starting point, isn't it? I mean, it's not even December. But we know that it will slow down. We know that it'll just trickle after this point, you know. So we'll see. We'll see where they end up. But I've got to think it's going to be down on next year. I can't see why it would be. I can't see why more people would go than last year when it was the first time that they were coming to Europe, let alone the UK, Europe. And it was also the first, like, CM Punk was there and he won't be there this time. That's a big name that's missing. Granted, Edge is going to be there. So, but Edge doesn't seem to be doing much to the ratings. So, I don't know. Is that going to really sell a load of tickets? It's going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on. Matt Carney said, I've got an idolized view of AEW, this hopefully new contender that will change the wrestling landscape. I edit out its failings. Please help, says Matt. Don't think you need it. I don't think you need help. If you idolize AEW and you just love what they're doing and you edit out the failings, then where's the problem? I don't know where the problem would be. You're watching a show and I'm guessing seemingly enjoying it if you continue to tune in, and you've got the ability to overlook any shortcomings. You'd have to tell me where the problem is in that first before we try to give you any help on it. Because that, at the end of the day, I think wrestling fans online and the wrestling community can, and myself as well, can forget really what this is about, and it's an escape. You know, there's people that jump onto these streams and like I really appreciate the streams because I've had a tough day at work or there's things going on in my life, and it's just great to switch that off for a few hours and just have a community of people that we can talk wrestling with or talk. Well, you know, we were talking about sitcoms yesterday, but you know, we can get lost in a different world and a different conversation, and we can have quite interesting conversations. And I think that, you know, we can forget that for many people, that is what this is. Like, it doesn't matter if something looks illogical. It doesn't matter if something goes a little bit too far. It doesn't matter if something, like, some storyline stutters. Like, I can overlook those things because it gives me something more important, and that's an escape, a distraction. It gives me something that I can look forward to, right? Because there's a lot of people out there, man, that go to work, and I've done that grind, where you go to work and you clock in and you just want to get through the day, and maybe you're doing some stuff which, you know, just isn't as fun as it used to be. You're just thinking of, like, well, once today's done, I can do this. And you set yourself that little, well, at least it's Dynamite tonight kind of a thing, you know? So I think if you've got the ability to watch anything, forget it's AEW, WWE Raw, NXT, SmackDown, MLW, a different TV show, anything, you can watch it, you can enjoy it, and you just don't care about the shortcomings that other people are talking about. It doesn't matter to you. I think that's brilliant. That's great. That's what it's all about. That's the promised land. That's what I think a lot of wrestling fans would like to get to. You know, enjoying a show, even if there's parts of it that don't appeal, but you've got the ability to look past those because you just are so into the brand and you're so into the wrestlers that any little bits that it doesn't matter. Not bothered. Let other people cry about that. It's not. I don't care. Because I love this and I love that and I love this and I love that and I love this and I love that and blah 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 blah. That's the promised land, man. That's the promised land. That doesn't need curing. It needs promoting. Right, let's get back to the chat. Not JPEG said, can Butcher and Blade coexist without Ali the Bunny? It's a big question. She was the glue that held them together. Super Exorcist said, thoughts on Hey EW? I love everything RJ City does in and out the ring. Well, I haven't watched many of them. Because to be honest, I didn't really know much about him. And so I just thought it was just a little chat show thing. So it wasn't something that I was really engaged with. But everyone was talking about the Sky Blue one. So I was like, okay, I'll watch this. And I watched it and he was fantastic. He was hilarious. I don't think it did her any favors, though. I mean, it changed how I look at Sky Blue. I didn't know much about her before. Sky Blue to me before was an upcoming female wrestler who I thought was really going somewhere. And I think she still is. But, I mean, the reason why that trended and the reason why people were talking about that is because she really did not come across well. She came across like a kid. Like, very short answers, confused at some of the questions. There was times where she was, like, thinking about what he was saying. She was like, I suppose so. And, like, I don't know. She just didn't come across like a media-trained adult that was selling herself. You know, even RJC at times was like, sell yourself, sell your brand. Like, do you think they should do Sky Blue caps? Because she was wearing them at the time. She was like, yeah, I suppose that'd be fun. And he was like, come on, sell them then. Do, like, you know, he was trying to get more out of her. Like, come on. Like, take it as an opportunity to rant or tell them, yeah, they should do Sky Blue hats and, like, go off on one. But she was like, yeah. So I really like RJ City. And I think that is maybe if there's someone that is a bit stronger. I mean, I did watch some other ones because I was like, does he destroy everyone like this? Does he, like, because this isn't good for the talent. So I watched some of the other ones, and thankfully some of the other people, you know, fire back at him. And, like, you know, but no one seems to be... I haven't seen anyone that's quite as quick, or I don't want to say as witty because that's a bit offensive. But he's very sharp, isn't he? He's very like, you know, he'll come out with a little line, and like all the other person can do is really laugh. I don't know. Maybe you can tell me if there's an episode where he puts out a line and then the other person can come back with something, and there's some real, like, you know, shots being fired between the two. So my thoughts actually on Hey AEW is that I think he's talented. I don't know that that's the right vehicle for his talent, because I don't, it doesn't, from what I've seen, it doesn't build the wrestler up. It doesn't make the wrestler a bigger superstar. It seems to be a vehicle for him to, in a way, like, put them in awkward situations, and even at times, like, not little digs, but just, I don't know, it seems to be a vehicle for him. It seems to be something that gets him over, but it doesn't get the talent over. And so I don't know that it's actually a productive thing. But he is very good. Like, if he did stand-up comedy, I'd be like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But I don't know how you use him if you take him away from that, right? And a lot of people will be like, well, not bothered, you know, it's just a laugh. I just have a laugh at it. I don't really think about it in those regards. And it's like, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But all I can tell you is it made me look at Sky Blue different. All of a sudden now I see her as a kid. See her as someone that maybe, you know, isn't quite as switched on as I thought she was. And that's because of that Hey AEW thing, where she just got battered, man. He just battered her. And she just came across as quite ditzy. So I don't know. I don't know that it's a good, I'm thinking, like, if WWE did it, would it be, if you think about WWE, right, compare it to WWE, backstage, if you think about those interviews on Raw Talk, right? Or, I don't know what the SmackDown one's called now. Is it Talking Smack? But Smack Talk, maybe? But they, basically, you've got Kathy Kelly, who will stand there as the wrestler insults them. They get insulted. So she'll interview them. And most of the time, like, you know, Damage Control will be having a pop at, like, what Kathy's wearing. New Day might have a little dance with her or whatever. But you don't see Kathy Kelly taking shots at the talent. You don't see Kayla Braxton taking shots at the talent. She might have a little dig at Paul Heyman, but she ain't going to go in and, like, you know, throw shots at Sami Zayn or whatever, right? So it's really different. I can't compare it to anything. There's a guy there that puts these questions to the talent, which I don't think, he's not trying to bury them. He's not trying. I'm not trying to paint the wrong picture. He's not trying to bury them. He's not trying to make them look stupid. But he just, I think, is such a strong personality. I think he's such a strong person that, not physically, but just with his charisma, that he just seems to overwhelm a lot of people, and he seems to overpower a lot of people. And I just don't know that it's the right vehicle for him. I agree. He's brilliant, and I get why you like him. But I might be doing it to the talent's expense. So I haven't watched loads. I've seen a few. The Sky Blue one is the one where I saw him really make her look a bit silly. I saw one with Thunder Rosa, and her responses was she just got more annoyed with him. So he was, like, doing what he was doing, and she would just be, like, getting annoyed. And Jade Cargill did the same thing as well. It was like, it was a great platform for him to show off and shine. And these wrestlers just kind of had to sit there and be like, are you being serious? Really? And there wasn't really much that they could kind of come back with to kind of make their brand bigger, you know? So I like him with Renee, actually. I think him and Renee bounce off each other quite well. I like their previews. I think that the reason why we're talking about this so much is because I agree. I like him. I like him. I think he's talented. I think he's very charismatic. He is someone that you'd go, come on, he needs a talk show. Like, him having a talk show actually on Dynamite would make sense. But the problem is when he starts to outshine the talent, and when the talent don't get built up. So I genuinely don't know how you would use him. I don't know how you would use him. But yeah, everything you said is correct. Like, I think he is very good. And I really like watching him from what I've seen of him. But I don't know how you'd use him. Mitchell said, watch the last one with Edge and any that are with Danhausen. Well, I'd imagine Danhausen would be very good. Because Danhausen has sort of got that type of personality as well. So I could see them two bouncing back and forth. Danhausen is very charismatic. He does like a lot of vlogs and stuff. And I could see that being a good one. So yeah, I could see that. I'll have to check that. I haven't seen that one. I haven't seen the Edge one either, or Adam Copeland one. So I will have to seek them out. Matt says, can close bonds be made in wrestling, or is the looming shadow of competing for spots always constant? Are there friends or just friendly colleagues? There's both. So I think that there is always, it's a scale, isn't it? Because I don't think that you can paint everyone in the same light. Not everyone is the same person. Some people are very competitive. Some people are very introverted. Some people are extroverts. Some people are, trying to just make a good living and are just happy to be on the cards. Some people are trying to be the best and want to be the main event. So I think that, someone like, say, R-Truth, who has found his niche, if you will, is kind of the comedy act. I think that if another comedy act comes in, he would welcome him with open arms, because I think that he's quite secure in his job. I think he knows that he's been there a long time. He's well liked. I think he would look at someone like Tozawa and think, I can have some fun with this person. I don't think necessarily he would see them as a threat. Obviously, if the situation changed and he was being used less and his comedy segments were going to Tozawa instead, then there might be a bit of a problem, because all of a sudden he feels he's being pushed out. So, it depends on the person. It depends on the situation. It depends on the circumstance. But you can't paint everyone with the same brush. It's going to be a case that some people are have that ability to make friends and have that ability to... I would imagine Sammy's pretty good. Sammy, for example, I think he makes a lot of friends. I think that he strikes me as someone that is frustrated. He wants to be a world champion. He said, I am a world champion level superstar. I think he really wants that, and I really want that for him as well. So I think he has got something he's focused on. But when he's seeing other people have opportunities, I don't think he's down on them for them getting that opportunity. I think he's more focused on, when do I get mine? When do I get mine? He's pleased for them, but that doesn't get in the way of a friendship or anything. And you could say, nice guys finish last. He's not been world champion because he's been too nice. He's been too patient. You could have that argument. You could say that if he was a bit more vocal, a bit more ruthless, a bit more demanding, well, you potentially put yourself in the firing line as well. You stray into maybe being difficult or being perceived as being difficult. But I think that he's a good guy, man. I think he's a good person. I think genuinely a good person. And I think that he is someone I could see having a lot of friends on that roster. A lot of friends. And I don't think that there's any kind of rivalry that sort of gets in the way with him. But, if he got promised something and then it ended up going to someone else, you could see that putting a strain on things. You could see that being something which would be a tough pill to swallow. So, yeah, there's no one answer to that, is there? Everyone's going to be acting differently. It's going to depend on circumstance. It's going to depend on the person. And it's quite apt, isn't it? Because we've just been seeing the whole Becky and Charlotte situation. When you have a conversation like that, I think about Becky and Charlotte and how they were super, super close and then split apart. And now, we got that hug Survivor Series. I hope that that is reflective of real life. I hope that hug wasn't just written on the script and they're like, oh God. I hope that there is like a coming together there as well. Because as we said in our preview of Survivor Series, if that is going to be a union now going forward where they're going to help each other, that could really push the women's division like further. That could really, because they're both big superstars. One of them's one of the most decorated female champions ever, the daughter of Ric Flair. And the other one is maybe the superstar that gained the most popularity ever. Like, as we said, when she was the man and main event in WrestleMania, she won the first women's main event of WrestleMania. And it wasn't even 2 days. It was back when it was 1 day, one show. And it was one of the longest cards. It had so many matches on it. And it was the women that closed the show. WrestleMania 35, the women closed the show. And it was Becky that was victorious in that. You know, that shows that she was the biggest thing in wrestling at that point. I don't think any woman has previously or since got to that level. So them two coming together, helping each other, being interviewed together, going on talk shows together. Like, if you can have them two together and doing stuff together and back on the same page, you could really do some stuff, man. You could really get somewhere. I think you could really do some stuff. I think that, I don't know quite how you use them. I don't know. I mean, I feel like the tag division would be a bit of a step down, but I feel like there's something that you can do there. There's something you can do. I don't know if you have damage control just like really go out of control. Like maybe they kick Bayley out and they just start really attacking people backstage, putting people on the shelf, laughing it up, just like decimating the women's division. And then we've got to get like, you know, Becky and Charlotte together to try and bring this damage control down. Maybe it's something in that. If I was in creative, that would sort of be my starting point. Kick Bayley out and then have damage control just run riot. And I would have Becky and Charlotte really spearheading the response. And of course, Bayley would end up being picked up by them. And I suppose in a way, I'm just going to end up with 4 horsewomen, aren't I? Taking down damage control, which just feels like it feels like the match to make in 2024 if you can get Sasha. If you can't get Sasha, then use Bianca Belair instead. But that would feel like the direction to go for me at the moment with SmackDown. And have it built all around the Becky-Charlotte relationship. FBE 203, shout out to you, dude, said, watch the interview with Regal. Oh, no, we've got suggestions coming in. Was it good? Was it good? Was it bad? What was it? Let me know. I mean, I'll try and catch some of them. I'll just have them playing in the background. But, yeah, I've only seen a handful. I saw the Jade Cargill one. I saw the Thunder Rosa one. I saw the Sky Blue one. I saw one with referees as well. He had all the referees in. I saw that one as well. I don't know if I've seen any of the others. So I will try and check some out. Philip said, Punk, Seth, Cody, Roman, Randy, possibly Cena. The list goes on for Mania. It's going to be epic. Big Time Hello said, Raw did 188. Not what I was expecting, man, at all. I was thinking it started with a 2. I said, if it doesn't start with a 2, it's going to be a 19 something. It's coming at 188. I mean, I'm sure there are people celebrating that number, but it is low. That's low. I can't spin that any other way. I can't spin it. Up 400,000 from last week, and it went against a game that did 17 million. Did it deliver? Not for me. Obviously not the 2 million that many expected, but it wasn't possible if they weren't doing 1314s. Well, that's true. If they weren't doing 1314s and it was a bit higher, then maybe it was more possible. But, I mean, we were doing 1718s. Was it earlier this year? I mean, Raw was 1718. SmackDown was 2.2, 2.3, right? And we were running that for quite a while. and that was earlier this year. The football thing just doesn't work for me, right? We've gone up against football every year since Raw began. So the idea that, like, you can't keep using that as the excuse. You know, next year there will be a game that does 17 million. So are we honestly going to say Raw did 1 million, but it was up against a 17 million viewed game, or it was up against a 20 million viewed game, right? It's always going to face that. It's always, and it has always gone up against like that. So I struggle with that excuse. I struggle with that excuse because that's what we've always been up against. And we've delivered better results than this. And the reason, the real truth is that the way that people consume wrestling has changed. It's not NFL, right? It's how people consume wrestling has changed. Because NFL was around during the Attitude Era, right? And we know that the ratings were a lot better during the Attitude Era than they are now, but they were still going up against the NFL in the winter months, okay? So it's not the NFL that's the problem. It's the fact that the way people consume wrestling has changed. So the reason that, like, I thought, well, 2 million, because we're doing 1314. And surely loads, anyone, where are those people that used to watch when we were doing 1718, right? And then add in, there's sure to be lapsed fans. I mean, even if you don't watch WWE, there's going to be people that are going to tune in, that are going to want to see the return of CM Punk. CM Punk fans that don't watch WWE, surely they're going to tune in. So for me, like, 2 million was, come on, it's got to start with a 2. And then I was thinking, well, maybe not. Maybe not. Perhaps we just fall at the 19 stage. 19 something. Not even 190, but 19 something. So to do a 188, I can't sit here and say that's a fantastic number. I just can't. Not when we were doing 1718 earlier this year. To do a 188 now, I just can't spin that as being a fantastic number. I mean, it's a solid number. I'm sure there's no tears. I'm sure no one's gutted, but it's the lowest low end of what I was expecting. I think it's scary, to be honest. It's scary. We brought back CM Punk on Raw. We brought back Randy Orton from 18 months away. We did the first hour commercial free, and we couldn't even break 1.9. And if you've been watching wrestling for a while, you'll know that not that long ago, a few years back, anything under 2 million was like unfathomable. Raw going under 2 million, unfathomable, right? I mean, I can only imagine there'll be emergency meetings if we go under 2 million, right? And it's just like, we've watched this decline. And now we're at the point where, I said this before, like, weren't people celebrating 1.4 Summit the other week? And it's like, what is this madness that we're in now? What is this madness? 1.4 Summit is being celebrated. And I'm sure that hardcore WWE fans are probably celebrating the 1.88. I'm sure there's babies being thrown in the air for 1.88, but it's the low end of what I was expecting. I'm not interested in just lying. I'm not interested in playing this tribalism game. Let's be brutally honest. We brought back CM Punk. We brought back Randy Orton. We did the first hour commercial free, and we couldn't do 1.9. No, I can't spin that. What else is there? What was the other part? Where's Big Time? I don't know where your comment went, Big Time. I wanted to see what the second part of it was. Oh, there it is. Obviously not 2 million as expected, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so we answered it. Jim said, how long has Raw been on? People have been worried about the ratings. Yeah, well, Raw has been on for, obviously, since 1993. I suppose the concern is, though, that, I mean, I don't know what shows tend to do in America. But I know that the big shows, like, I watched a little documentary on Joey, because we spoke about sitcoms, And I got recommended this video as a result of us reading about sitcoms. I got recommended this video of why Joey failed. So I was doing some editing last night. I just had that on in the background. And they were talking about that. And apparently that used to do like 5 million, 4 million. And it was seen as like wasn't seen as a failure, I suppose, from ratings point of view. But the actual show itself was deemed a failure. And it only went 2 seasons. And those ratings plummeted and went down. And, you know, it ended up, I don't know where it ended up, but it was around like the 2 million mark. It was doing 5 million. I think it opened with like 8 million or whatever, 5 million, got down to about 2 million. It ended up getting axed. So the concern is that like we're now around that 1.4 million mark. That's where Raw is seemingly naturally sitting right now, 1.4 million, right? And once we get out of the football season, hopefully it'll go back to like the 1.7, 1.8 that it was kind of earlier this year. But we know that like the decline would suggest that it's only going down. I mean, hopefully it holds, but obviously it's hard to say because it's going to move, isn't it, soon? So we don't know what that's going to do. But I suppose the concern is there has to come a point where it's in where you can replace it. You know, you could put a film on instead that each week that's going to get you like, you know, more viewers. You know, if they took Raw off and they put on a movie instead, what would that get? 500,000? I don't know. It's hard to know, isn't it? But there must be a number. There must be cheaper content that you could produce that would get you a number similar. I don't know where that number is. So it might be that Raw is safe for now. But, I mean, we know that Fox weren't happy with what they were getting from SmackDown, and so they didn't renew. So it is true in saying it's been around 30 years, and, you know, the ratings conversation has been around for a long time. Like, are we going to keep doing this? But I suppose we're getting to the point now where how much lower can it actually go? Like, in 5 years' time, if it's going to be around that kind of 500, 600,000 mark, what does it look like then? You know, what is, I don't know. What does it look like then? How do we consume wrestling then? I wonder if there's a heart attack coming. I wonder if there's a moment that's within the next 5 years, if it does keep declining. I wonder if there's going to be a moment where it through the ropes goes Moxley. I wonder if there's going to be a moment where the industry changes, because the industry's changed before. So it was back in the day, you used to get things like primetime wrestling or superstars of wrestling, right? And what that would be is it would be house shows with matches recorded, and you'd have, for primetime wrestling, you'd have Bobby and Gorilla sitting, talking, and then they'd throw to a match. And they'd throw to a match, and that match was pre-recorded, and it's from a house show, and basically they made their money off house show ticket sales, right? That's how they made their money. Well, if TV money is going to start declining because the ratings are declining, that they're going to have to make their money a different way. Now, obviously, it might not have to be house shows. It might be that they sell the library to Peacock and get $1 billion, right? It might be that they continue to do that because I don't know what the ratings are for Peacock and the library views. We know apparently that Survivor Series got watched by more people. Viewership is record viewership. So perhaps the future's not in SmackDown and Raw and NXT. I'm talking 5-10 years, right? I'm not talking about this next load of TV deals. I'm talking in the future. Perhaps the future's actually going to be more your library. Perhaps libraries are going to be more important going forward. Perhaps we go back to doing more house shows, and perhaps that's where we really make the money, is we try and make the money in house shows, and that's how it was back in the 70s and in the 80s. That's where wrestling made its money. I wonder if the reliance on TV money is going to come to an end. I mean, seemingly it's going to have to. If these ratings keep going down, surely that means less exposure for the advertisers. And so surely that means that advertisers are going to be less inclined to use wrestling. And we've seen that. This is why Fox didn't renew. They didn't renew because the advertisers didn't feel the benefit of advertising on wrestling, because I think wrestling fans have got, X amount of income to spend, and advertisers didn't feel the benefit. And so it wasn't renewed. So we have already seen Fox pull out of the race for that reason. At the moment, there seems to be, just people out there just desperate for content. I think that bubble has burst a little bit. A few years ago, content was absolutely everything. I still think it is, but maybe not to the same extent. So, I mean, you've got Amazon Prime, you've got Disney Plus, you've got all of these streaming services. But, at what point is it that even if their views are going to be down, they're not going to be interested anymore? Don't know, man. The future of wrestling, you bring back CM Punk, you have Randy Orton, you have the first hour commercial free. You can't even do 1.9 million. Don't know, man. I cannot spin that any way that's a positive. Other than it wasn't worse. At least it wasn't 1.7. We'll see. We'll see where wrestling is going. But if there's a lot of hope and optimism and excitement in the wrestling world, which there is, I think there does have to be a little bit of concern in that regards. And it could be that we're heading for a real shake-up of the industry in 5-10 years. But that's far enough in the future whereby maybe we just don't have to worry about it right now. Maybe there'll be some pickup and improvement. Perhaps things will take a swing. Because one of the other things you can say, and we are going to focus on AEW, I am watching it, it's Moxley and Jay Lethal. One of the other things you can say is perhaps all these streaming services aren't sustainable. They make their money from subscriptions. Well, how many people can subscribe to all these different services? We've had this explosion of platforms, but surely this isn't sustainable. You can't have HBO and Paramount and Amazon Prime and Apple TV and Netflix and Fight and DAZN and YouTube TV and whoever else, right? You can't have all of these platforms and all of them surviving. So have we seen this explosion of streaming platforms because it's the thing, right? And now, because people are tightening their belts, cost of living, people cutting different subscription services. We know Netflix has found it hard. This is why they've cut back on the password sharing. They found it hard. So are we going to see some of these players starting to drop out? Are we going to see some of these platforms disappear? Because then if it goes back down again, then then all of a sudden you're focusing a lot more people into only a few places. Maybe we'll see ratings go back up. Although it's going to be harder to get onto those platforms because there'll be a lot more shows competing for that airtime. So it'll be harder to get onto them. Thank God I haven't got to negotiate this stuff. Thank God I don't necessarily need to worry about it. There's nothing I can do about it, but I think where the industry's going is very, very interesting. I love that AEW put on more exciting shows in comparison to WWE, in my opinion, said Gerald. What channel is AEW, said Harry. I've got it on Fight TV here in the UK. So I think it's TBS in America. But here in the UK, you have to subscribe to Fight TV to watch it live. Forearm strikes, shots being exchanged by Moxley and Jay Lethal. Back elbow there by Jay Lethal. Mr. Dale Jr. said, what do you think the darkest days of WWE were in the last 10 years? Probably the pandemic. I think the uncertainty of that and not having fans. And the Thunderdome. I mean, there's some moments that come out of that, but I mean, wrestling without fans is just not right. It's not right. It doesn't work. You need that reaction, We talk a lot about, it's a good crowd or it's a flat crowd or whatever it might be. But no crowd doesn't work. To the point where, you know, both companies, AEW and WWE, had to use their wrestlers on the outside of the ring just to provide some atmosphere. Like, wrestlers started to come in and actually shout stuff. We tried it with no one, and it was awful. So I think they were exciting times, because what are they going to do? How are we going to do WrestleMania without a crowd? But I don't know that anyone looks back now at WrestleMania 36 with a lot of love. I think it was interesting. It's a WrestleMania everyone should watch, because it's so different to any WrestleMania we've ever seen and hopefully ever see. But it's not a WrestleMania that I've got fondness for. And same with the Thunderdome and everything. I haven't got fondness for any of that. I mean, when crowds came back, it was so much better. So I'd have to say that period was probably the darkest period. I think you can find stuff pretty much in every year that was good, and even in those years you can find some stuff that was good. But I think where we are now, certainly with Triple H booking as well, and CM Punk coming back, and just the excitement around now, I was not feeling this during the pandemic era. Even last year was quite exciting with Triple H taking over, you know? And I think last year was maybe the first full year with fans. So 2021 was like still a bit of a mixed bag, and we were still trying to find our feet. Because don't forget, the wrestlers, they weren't doing house shows, so they were just wrestling like once a week. So even that was a change for them. That made things a bit more challenging. And NXT couldn't train anyone. So this is why no one was getting called up, because NXT had to just use the people it had, because it didn't have anyone to replace them with. So all of that shut down. There was no sign-ins and stuff like this. Kick out by Jay Lethal, but Moxley gets him from behind. Submission holds applied. This match been going for a while, hasn't it? Eric said, the reason AEW isn't in millions every week, no big storylines, they just focus on banger matches. Well, Moxley has secured the win. So Moxley managing to get the win over Jay Lethal. I mean, what I would say is just keeping an eye on that. I thought that match was all right. Thought it was all right. I thought Moxley's match with Orange Cassidy was better than I was expecting from Full Gear as well. So no blood here as well. Moxley's putting on some slightly better contests for me. I know that he's very popular with people anyway. But I've seen him have a couple of decent matches. And not use bloods. We're just having a look at how the grids are standing at the moment. They're just showing us some of the results. Claudio was victorious. Brody King was victorious. So Kingston losing and Garcia losing. Okay, so Moxley jumping through the crowds. Okay, so match is done, and we're backstage with Eddie Kingston. He says, I knew this would be tough. Maybe I was too arrogant. Maybe I was too cocky. Like, I thought I deserved to win, but no one deserves anything. And I've got Bryan next. This is good. Humble in victory, humble in defeat. I really like that. I really like that. It's really good to have, like... Brilliant. This is great. That's great. I've got there's nothing you can say. Eddie Kingston backstage being like really self-doubting himself, just like, I'm behind the 8 ball, I've lost, I've got Bryan Danielson next. It's not often that you see that sort of reaction from a wrestler, but we know that wrestlers go through that kind of self-doubt. They're human, right? If you lose, and the fact is, like, I've got Danielson next and I've already lost my first match. And I like how Kingston was like, listen, I'm not going to go back to who I was. I'm going to be humble in defeat, just like I'm humble now in victory. And then they cut to Danielson, who's on commentary. He just cuts a little promo, fired up, saying, like, it took one loss for him to react like that and say he's behind the 8 ball. I'm here. I broke my orbital bone. I'm not going to be humble. I'm going to be AEW's first Triple Crown champion. Like, it makes me want to watch that match between them. I mean, I'm not, because it's on a Saturday. Stupid, right? But that's good. I mean, I've got nothing but praise for that. They've given you a little backstory to this match in the, Eddie Kingston's now got a little bit of doubt after losing that first match. Danielson's injured, but he's fired up. And it makes me want to see as to who gets awarded the victory. I'm sure it'll be Danielson. But then, what's that going to do to Eddie Kingston's confidence? Is that going to further knock it? I'm sure it will. He's going to be really down at that point. Well, how does he respond? So, it's only a very short little thing, but you are really planting some seeds that can grow into something further down the road. So I really like that. Really like that. Roddy said, I like Bryan Danielson, but I've had enough of him at the same time. WWE AEW fan said Mark Briscoe against Roosh is up next. A. Jobson said, I think Danielson comes back to WWE for the Hall of Fame. James said, Danielson wrestling with a broken orbital is still stupid AF. I saw someone make that point online to Dave Meltzer, and he responded, well, Undertaker did it. And that was true. Undertaker wore that white mask, didn't he, after, was it Mabel broke his orbital bone? So I thought that was an interesting point because, I mean, you could say Undertaker was stupid to do it as well. If, though, like it was online, I think the person that spoke to Dave was kind of coming at it from a more anti-AEW angle, right? And so I think Dave was sort of trying to pick up on that. Someone then responded by saying, you're really going to compare this to something that happened like 30 odd years ago or 28 odd years ago? But he's like, well, it's still the same rules apply. So that is true. The Undertaker did do work with a broken orbital bone. I don't know if Danielson is wearing a protective mask more than just an eye patch. I think if it's just the eye patch, I think that he needs more protection than that. If he's got like a Brutus the Barber Beefcake titanium kind of a mask, then I can kind of go with that. But I don't know. I don't know what he's been wrestling in. Or if it's just the eye patch, I agree. What's Tony? Tony's on screen. What's he saying? Sting. He's talking about Sting. He's talking about Sting and Ric Flair. So Sting and Ric Flair come in. Greensboro Coliseum. Is that where Revolution's going to be? $45-minute commercial-free draw 35 years ago. Sting thanking Rick. It's a nice moment. Let's see what Rick's got to say. I didn't make Sting. Sting made himself. I love that line. He said that Sting walked back that day to 25 people backstage saying, "You're the man, you did it, Stinger." He said he's going back to Greensboro for arguably the greatest moment of his life, and he's had some great moments. This will be one for the ages. Sting and the Nature Boy are coming to Greensboro. Sting said it's the 80s all over again. Look at it. Pop, 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 he's ready. Ric Flair's ready. Pop, pop. Let's go, man. Let's go. Let's go. I know it's like the old folks home, but you try and tell the story of wrestling without those guys. It can't be done. Oh, let's go. James said, I'm not coming as an anti-AEW. I'm more welfare and health for stars as a point of view thing. Yeah, I know. I was saying someone had said it on to Meltzer, and I think they were coming at it from like an anti-AEW point of view. I agree, like health of the wrestlers and all that kind of stuff. I completely agree. I agree. I think if it can be protected, like Undertaker's was, and like legitimately protective mask is going to provide the protection that's required, and you know Danielson wants to do it, I'm all right with it. I'm all right with it. But if it's a case that he's wrestling in an eye patch and he's just, you know, I don't think he would be pressured into it. I don't think he's stupid enough to be pressured into it. He doesn't need the money. He doesn't need the money. I don't think... I feel like Danielson... If anyone's pressuring him, I think it'll be himself. Because I think he set that deadline, didn't he, of when his daughter's 7. And he knows this is his kind of final run. I mean, that's actually getting sort of lost in the wash a little bit. You know, he's next year, I think he's calling it quits. Because he said that his daughter's 6 and when she's 7, he's going to walk away. So I think if anyone's putting pressure on Danielson, it's probably himself. But you would like some adults to be in the room to say, don't do this. You don't need to do, just put him, you know, retire when she's 8. She ain't got to be 7. It's all right. So I agree. I mean, no one wants to see wrestlers getting hurt. But let's see if what protection he wears. I mean, I didn't watch Collision, so I don't know. If it is just an eye patch and it's unprotected, then I agree. I think that's stupid. Right, Rouge and Briscoe is match number 2. Jobson said, I wish Julia Hart was given a feud, maybe start a rematch. Instead, we're getting Emi Sakura again. She's a great wrestler, but she hasn't won a match all year, and she lost to Shida for her title recently, says A. Jobson. Theme Pro said Collision had its lowest viewership to date. I thought that was better than I expected, to be honest. I don't know, perhaps I'm putting too much stock into... I mean, clearly people didn't know for certain that Punk was coming in at Survivor Series. I think WWE did a good job of really not building that up and making it seem, you know, like he wasn't coming in. They could have had a mystery person and all this kind of stuff. You know, they could have easily switched the Nakamura thing from Cody to CM Punk and put Nakamura. And I'm sure that went through Triple H's mind. You know, well, I've got this Nakamura thing. He's calling someone out. I could easily put him on Survivor Series and have him call someone out and out comes CM Punk. But I think the truth is he didn't want to switch it because he didn't want or doesn't want Nakamura to go into a Punk feud right now. It's not really what he's got planned or had planned for Nakamura. So he didn't go that way. So maybe I'm just putting a bit too much in retrospectively. But I still thought it was amazing. 317,000 chose to watch Collision over Survivor Series. Or perhaps a good chunk of them watched both. You know, perhaps they had Collision on that screen and they had Survivor Series on this screen, and perhaps there was a good number that were watching both at the same time. But yeah, I thought 317 was above what I was expecting, to be honest. I know it's a record low, but I mean, I wouldn't celebrate it. I wouldn't say that, wow, you did really good. You got more than I thought you was going to get. But they did. They genuinely did. They genuinely got more viewers than I thought they would have got. If someone had asked me what you think they'd get, I'd say 270, 280, starting with a 2. We've been in the 3s before. So I thought, yeah, let's start with a 2. I mean, it's Survivor Series. It's a massive show. CM Punk came back. Randy came back. But as we said, perhaps it's just a case that there's people that were watching both at the same time, you know? Probably 2/3 were watching Survivor Series, said Rick. Yeah, I agree. I mean, if it was a case that, like, you couldn't watch both at the same time, then what would that number be? What would that number look like then, if you take away the people that were watching both? Chop coming in there by Arush. James said Alexa Bliss and Ty Conti are now moms. Oh, has Alexa had hers? I know Ty had hers. I didn't know Alexa had hers. Was that today? Have a look. Alexa Bliss have announced the birth of their daughter, Hendrix Rouge Cabrera. There we go. Baby girl. No pictures. Don't need a picture. There's a picture of a hand. They've put her in a what looks to be a Rolling Stones onesie though, so credit to that. Credit to that. Let's go. I'll show you the only image I've seen. There we go. Hendrix, is that Rouge Cabrera? Oh, that's Brady. So there we go. Oh, there's an. Is that one? Is that an actual one? There's the dudes, the Cabrera, Ryan Cabrera. Look at these clouds. That's a good idea, isn't it? These like clouds in the corner. That's pretty fun. That's pretty fun. I mean, I don't need them, but just saying. Right. We're back underway. The doctor was just checking on Roosh momentarily. But it sounds like a model car, said Alex. Let's go. Okay, 36 minutes into... Oh, he has just sort of hobbled over there, so... He went down. Whoa, wow. Quick elbow drop by Briscoe, and again. Going for the cover to kick out by Roosh. That's the dumbest name ever, said Alex. Rivi, hello. Hope you're doing well. So, Briscoe is grabbing Roosh. Briscoe goes down. Roosh is working on the leg, tying the leg up at the moment. He's got both of them and pulls back. Is that an introverted figure four? Okay, so submission applied. It looks like an introverted figure four. And he's trying to get over to the ropes at the moment. I think we're at commercial break momentarily. So Roosh is... Oh, this is gold? Yeah, this is Gold League. They do Gold League. In my head, I was like, hang on, it's not Blue League. But no, I think Blue League's Collision. Gold League is Dynamite. Getting over to the ropes by Briscoe, and it gets broken up. Zoom Station said there's no babies allowed in pro wrestling. That's true. Does WWE have enough talent to give women a mid-card title? Well, they have a mid-card title. It's the tag titles. So I think WWE felt there needed to be a mid-card title. But the problem is, if you introduce an Intercontinental and for the women and a United States for the women, you're going to basically do a champion and a challenger, right? So you've got 4 women involved in mid-card matches. But the problem is you need to book a segment for that on Raw, and you need to book a segment for that on SmackDown. And for whatever reason, I don't know if they just don't have much confidence in their depth of their women's division, or if it's that they've just got too much to do with the men's side of it. I don't know the reason, but I think they looked at it and they went, okay, we could introduce a United States for the women and an Intercontinental for the women. That's going to use up 4 women, champion, challenger. Or we could bring in tag titles that can be defended on Raw and SmackDown, and that can take up 4 women. The same number of women if we introduce 2 mid-card belts. We could introduce these women's tag titles, and we could have them defend those on Raw and SmackDown. So rather than having to find a segment for the women's Intercontinental and find a segment for the women's United States, we can just find one segment for women's tag team titles and still use 4 women like away from the world title picture. So I think that the fans got behind a women's tag title thing. I think WWE looked at it and went, yeah, we can make that work. And I think that this is why, you know, we haven't brought in a women's Intercontinental, women's United States, is because I think those women's tag titles sort of act as the mid-cards. And I think this is something that probably was put to Sasha. And this is why, like, you know, we've seen Sasha with those belts with Naomi. And I think wow. Lovely, like, throw there. A bit like a belly-to-belly on the edge of the ring. Briscoe crashes to the outside. That was a pretty brutal spot by Roosh. That looked really good. It's a little bit like hip tossy, but yeah. Roosh is down on the outside. Briscoe's down on the outside. That was performed by Roosh. So I think Sasha and Naomi really took it upon themselves to be like, right, well, let's raise the profile of this then. Let's really get this belt going. And WWE like, yeah, it's only a mid-card thing. we're not really looking to do like loads with it. And I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back, and that's where like Sasha and Naomi got really frustrated. So could you bring in mid-card belts as well? I think you could. I mean, you could definitely put one on Zoe, or you could definitely put one on like Asuka or Kairi or, you know, whoever, right? There's women that you could put mid-card belts onto. But I suppose the problem is, can you find time to really build interesting feuds for them and the men's mid-card titles and the main titles and any other grudges and the tag division? Like, is there enough time to build all of that? I mean, you can say like, oh, we need to get more women onto TV. Okay, but then that means that you get less of what you're getting. You get less of the guys. You get maybe less of the tag teams. Or there's a pin there by Roosh. So it's a tricky one, that. It's a tricky one. Roosh gets the win in this match. I think that there is a... I think that you could have a mid-card belt and maybe it bounces between the two brands. So maybe you have one mid-card belt and then the tag belts and then the two champions at the top. But I don't know. It's all a bit messy, isn't it, really? It's all a bit messy. I love women's wrestling, but sadly, anytime a woman is on TV, we get, oh my God, look at that peach. That is really true. That is really true. But then they don't help themselves because they put their peaches out there. You know, if they were to cover up a little bit more. Oh, let's go. Let's go, Timeless Tony. Okay, so RJ City asking Tony Ash his feeling. One of the Kennedys was at the compound. She's defending next week. She wants RJ City to take off her shoes. The crowd are like, yeah! There wasn't much to that. There wasn't really too much to celebrate about that. Apart from the fact that her shoes got took off and the crowd went, yeah! Whoa. Let's go. Triple T must be there. Triple T in the house. Right, we've got MJF. But Timeless Tony. She's fine. I mean, like, I find her just captivating. I find her so interesting. I could watch her do anything. She's just interesting to me. I just find her interesting. But there wasn't really too much there. That was literally just basically a little backstage interview, wasn't it? That's all that was. MJF in the ring then. Let's see what he's got to say. December 30th, Nassau Coliseum. Samoa Joe, MJF. Boom, boom, boom. MJF, let's go. Samoa Joe is a person. Don't like him. But professionally, I respect him. I respect what he's done for the industry. He came here because he believes in those 3 letters. AEW. AEW. I got a poster. He's talking about watching TNA. Talks about tuning in and seeing the Samoan submission machine. He wasn't afforded the opportunity to be a world champion in WWE. But what Joe did was bigger than that. You don't have to be a bodybuilder to be a top guy in this sport. So he's saying thank you to Joe because he says without Joe, there might not be an MJF. He paved the way for unorthodox guys to kind of get to the top. I mean, not to the top of WWE, though. However, this is so much better from MJF. It's so nice not having any silliness and just having him really focus on someone and kind of like getting back to cutting the sort of promos that he can cut, you know? I so hate that "are we friends" stuff with Adam Cole. This is more the MJF that I want to see. Mm-hmm. Love that. That's a great line. He names checks a load of people and he says, if I look back and think about everyone that I've been in a ring with, there's one I look back on and think, not only was I lucky to win, I was lucky to survive. And that person, Samoa Joe. I'm going to make a promise. I don't care if my left knee keeps sliding in and out. I like this. It's a good promo. It's not about the dog in the fight. It's about the size of the fight in the dog. At World's End, you'll have to put me down. MJF snaps the cane at the end to show that he doesn't need it. Lights go out. Oh, is this going to be the devil thing? All right, we've got lights flashing around. Some people are attacking. Don't need this. Don't need it. They've got... I know people are into the devil thing. I think that's a really good promo. I was hoping Joe was going to come out. Joe has grabbed someone that's got... So these mass people jump in the ring. They've got the Devil's logo on the back. It's a little bit retribution. Joe makes the save. And then have we just cut to black? Okay. Well, I think people might be a bit split on that. For me personally, I really like the promo. I love some of the stuff he's saying. He's really putting over Samoa Joe. Oh, what's this? Are you a hero? Why was that such a black screen for ages? Are you a hero, Max? Crowd are chanting, he's a scumbag. Did I miss something? What? They stole that strobe light from the Fiend, said Horatio Minds. Mitchell said that was awful. They didn't watch Fiend videos properly. They missed the shot. I don't even know what the black screen was. There was a black screen for ages. I thought that we'd cut to commercial and then some type in and like appeared on screen. What is this, says Aubrey? Scooby-Doo BS. I don't know why they do it to themselves. I really don't. If you want my honest opinion, which is, I think, why people come here, I think they have got the raw ingredients to do something fantastic. But they just always go too far and overcomplicate things and overbook things and overdo things when they just don't need to be done. MJF just cut a great promo. I was full of praise for it. I really enjoyed it. Don't need lights going out. Just bring Joe out for his response. That's all you need to do. Just keep it simple, stupid. That's a famous saying for a reason. Keep it simple, stupid. Don't overcomplicate things for the sake of doing it. I just think like this devil stuff, it has got people's attention. But you can't tell me that Scooby-Doo retribution type stuff is good. You can't tell me that that's adding to this and that that's making this better. Like, for me, it's just an unnecessary distraction. It wasn't executed very well. It looked cheesy AF. And it just leaves a bit of a bad taste in the mouth now. Now you're like, oh, man, stop doing this. Stop messing around. Just, you've got something good. Just focus on the good thing. Even the devil thing has got people's attention, but if you're going to make it look like flipping Scooby-Doo, do you remember when, was it Dark Order? They had their minions coming in. Do you remember that guy that was like punching away and missing the punches by like a mile? Just had a little vibe of that. These people coming in and like trying to attack MJF. It's one of those where it could easily look cringe, easily look rubbish. And I don't think I'm alone in a lot of people being like, it just wasn't necessary, just wasn't needed. You didn't need to do it. You could have just, if you really want to continue with the devil thing, you could have just had the lights go out, flash the devil on screen, have him say a comment like "time's ticking, Max," and go away again, right? Just short, simple. If you really want to keep doing that, then fine, you know. But that looks silly. It looks silly. After a decent promo as well. There was some good stuff in there. I mean, there'll be people that have wet themselves over the fact he mentioned WWE. And I thought that some of his lines, like, you know, the only person I've been in... I love how he spoke about watching Samoa Joe in TNA. And I love how he spoke about, like, thanking him, saying, you know, you really paved the way. That's great. Or that was all great. And I love when he was like, I faced Jericho, I faced Omega. The only person that I look back on thinking, not only was I lucky to win, but I was lucky to survive. Only person is Samoa Joe. And you're like, it's really building up their next encounter. Like, it makes you think what's going to happen. I think Joe is a very credible threat. I think they've done a really good job of building up Joe as a credible threat to MJF's title. He's faced like Jay White, but Joe's always kind of been there as well. And I love how, I mean, like, for me, the biggest statement was Joe going, I don't want this belt anymore. And giving up the Ring of Honor, like, TV title. I think that was good. I know some people say, well, it doesn't do much for the belt, but who cares? It's the Ring of Honor TV title. Who gives a flip, right? He's got his sights set on something much, much bigger. And that's the AEW Championship. He's going all in. Don't want that. That's the one I want. That's the one I'm coming for. And so I think some of the build for this has been good. But I can't heap too much praise on that little bit there. Anna, shout out to you. Anna Bernadette with a shocked face. She can't believe it. She can't believe what she just witnessed. Anna Bernadette, shout out to you. Right, Mitchell, I will get to your comment in a second, but let me change this over. It is AR Fox taking on Wardlow. AR Fox against Wardlow. There's been some decent stuff in that first hour. I like the Eddie Kingston bit. I thought the Moxley match was okay. Eddie Kingston bit. The Roosh match was all right. I might have preferred the Moxley match more. And MJF's promo was good. And then obviously that bit just I wasn't really into. But Tony Storm was okay. Would have liked... It was just a promo, wasn't it? Really, wasn't it? She might have been stood backstage talking to Tony. It would have done as well. So I'd say it probably. Well, if that's all we're getting this week, that's a bit of a shame. But it doesn't matter. We found out that she's going to be defending next week, so let's go. Right, Mitchell said AEW is listening to the fans too much. That's why the show seems so disjointed. They seem like they're booking week to week. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't know who the devil actually is. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. I wonder. I mean, I don't know who it is, right? If I was to guess, would say Brit Baker has been my pick pretty much from the start. MJF flashed into my mind as well, right? And I think with Punk going back, I never thought it was Punk, but with him going back to WWE, a lot of people are saying, oh my God, it's going to be Jack Perry, isn't it? You know? And that name's been in the mix all throughout, so... These are the sort of names that I'm looking at, but it could equally turn out to be Dolph Ziggler. It could be Mustafa Ali. I think the devil thing is fine. People are into it. People want to know who it's going to be revealed to be, so I think it's fine. I just think you've got to be really careful with how you're presenting it, because it's also something that we've seen tried quite a few times in the past, and it can easily go wrong. It's so easily can stray into cringe. So easily strained to cringe. So I think it's fine to tell that story. You just got to be very careful with how you tell it. But booking week to week and giving fans what they want, it's hard, isn't it? Because, I mean, I don't really talk too much about AEW away from AEW when we're doing the stream, other than like just talking about some of the stuff they're doing wrong at the moment. And kind of the ratings and the perception and all that kind of stuff. But we don't really talk about who's the devil and stuff like that. So I don't really ever really think about it, to be honest. But I would like to think that they know who it was from the start. And I'd like to think that they've got a clear plan as to where this is going. Whether they do or they don't, I honestly don't know. But I'd like to think they do. And listening to the fans, I'm not sure what the fans are asking for. I don't know what it is that the fans want. Actually, I don't know if the fan base knows what it wants. I think their fan base is quite divided. I don't know if their fan base quite knows. I think it wants great wrestling, and Tony's giving them that with this tournament. So you want great wrestling, you want proper wrestling, you want no interference. That's your criticism. Well, here's the Continental tournament. Is that what people want? Is that what people want? Refers called the match, and Wardlow has been awarded the victory. I don't know. It's an interesting one, that, isn't it? It's hard to say that they're booking to give people what they want when I don't really know what people want. I think if you used to ask people, they want great wrestling, they want great storytelling, and they. I think that's it. They just want great wrestling, great stories. AEW just seems to overcomplicate that. Just seems to always have people attacking people and just always kind of getting overbooked. Do you know what I think it is, actually? And I have said this before. I think AEW's biggest problem is it tries too hard. I think that's its biggest problem. I think there's so many ideas and so many people that I think are contributing. Tony clearly has the final say, but I think Tony's got so much respect for the wrestlers. If they give him ideas, he'll listen, maybe take them on boards. And I think what we end up with is a lot of stuff when it could just be stripped back a bit, simplified a lot, and I think you end up with something better. Here's the Hardys. The Devil storyline is great too, said James. Travis said a lot of the AEW fans realised that Jim Cornette, Brian Last have been right. Lance said it seemed like they want to feature AR Fox a few months ago. I don't understand why he's being squashed now. Well, I mean, if you put him in a match with Wardlow's probably going to end up winning, so perhaps AR Fox just wasn't the right person to be in that match. I don't know what this is. Is this a 6-person tag match? Top Flight and Action Andretti. It's a trios match. So Top Flight and Action Andretti taking on the Hardys. And I didn't see who it was that was with them. It was so trios match. Right. Dante Martin is back, says Mitchell. I'm done for tonight. I'm going to go now. See you on Friday for SmackDown, said Christopher. Christopher, shout out to you, buds. Rick said, AR Fox is not a top talent. Probably doesn't want to be at his age. They give him just a small boost. It's face versus face here, says Rivy. Dante Martin was the guy that killed his foot, says Mitchell. Dropkick. And Matt is in there right now. You can get a digital Ric Flair Upper Deck card available through Wednesday. So what, till next week? Is it Isaiah that's with the Hardys? I think it's Isaiah that's with the Hardys as they are in control. Are these, I mean, I don't know what we're doing with the Trios Championships. I mean, this is the problem, I suppose, with the Trios Championships, is we don't really have a Trios division. So you just have to keep chucking random teams together, and there's not really a division battling to try and, do you know what I mean? It's just a lot, it's just kind of hodgepodged. Are you going to do NXT Deadline next week? Yes. This is a Rampage match, not a Dynamite match, but they're here because it's in Dante's hometown, says James. That's interesting. Rick said, I realized that Dante is back. What an injury. It's good that he's back. Lance said, Dante Martin's injured in the worst ladder spot I've ever seen. I'm glad he's back. Steve said, why make MJF wrestle next week when he is injured just 1 month before World's Ends? I don't know. I don't know. Mitchell said, it's good to see Dante back. The injury was horrific. Who are the Trios champions? It's a good question. Is it House of Black? House of Black would be my guess, but it's a good question. Who are the Trios champions? Oh, is it the Acclaimed? They've got them belts with the scissors. It might be the Acclaimed. I think that's their belts. The Acclaimed. But then who's the tag champions? Oh, yeah, because it's Starks and Big Bill are the tag champs. We got there. Acclaimed. Rick said trios are mostly made up from made-up teams, not pre-made ones. If you look to Mexico, where this trios titles were popularized, says Rick. Claimed, thank you, everyone. Still to come tonight, we've got Christian Cage. The Patriarch responds to Adam Copeland. Picture-in-picture break. Jay White against Swerve coming up tonight. So Jay White, Swerve. We're going to hear from Christian. We've got Julia Hart against Emi Sakura. What else is there? We've done Moxley Lethal. We've got Bryan Danielson on commentary. We've done Briscoe Rouge. So we've got these two. We've got Julia Hart as well. That might be it. I mean, in all fairness, it is coming up to 10 past, so we've got just over 50 minutes to go. Anna Bernadette, shout out to you. Do halftime scores. Okay. Here we go. Halftime scores, everybody. It's the halftime scores. I really want to know your halftime scores. Put it in the chat. Halftime scores, everybody. It's the halftime scores. Are you happy? It's the halftime scores. Are you happy or you sad? Halftime scores, everybody. It's the halftime scores. I should get that recorded. If I got it recorded, I could just press play. Let's go. Just sit here like this. Let's go. Get in your halftime scores. We are a bit past it. Corey said 2. Denise said 6. James said, I like Malachi Black's line towards FTR on Collision. You've got no one to save you now. No Cesaro, no Yuta, and no CM Punk. Lance said 7. Roddy said 6. Rick said 6.5. FaZe Coasters said 5. Fred says 2. Kieran said 5. Donald said 6.6. Franks92 said 7. Rivy said 5.62. George said 7. Travis said 2.5 out of 10 thanks to MJF. Purse1 said 6. Rivy said 5.62. Aubrey said 5. Shaquem said 4. Anna, shout out to you, my friend. Agency Development said 7. DJ Poison said 10. Deadman Talking said 6. Big Time Baxter with a 6. Q the Light Night King with 6.62. Mitchell said 5.5 to 6. Real Kyle said 6.25. Lee said 6.5. Legend Killer says 6. Justin said 5. Nick says 4. Larry said 5. Chaos Theory said 3. A. Jobson says 5. Harry Mosdell said 6.6. I think I've done well there to kind of get through all of these. I know people like their names being shouted out. Legend Killer said 6. Danny D said 6.75. Lee Dyer says 1.31 out of 10. James Chadwick says 6. And I think we're up to speed. Let's go. Let's go. It hasn't been brilliant, that's for sure, says Lance. Yeah, those aren't great scores. I mean, for me, I'm probably I'm the same as you guys, to be honest. I mean, what I will say is I've seen Dynamites that I've just really wanted to turn off. I've seen shows that I just really cannot deal with. I don't really feel that way about this one. I mean, it's there. I'm not offended by it. I didn't like the attack, but I mean, it's not a problem. I think the other matches have been okay. I don't really need this one right now. I agree this one could live on Rampage. Crowd are into it, though, and obviously people are pleased to see Dante Martin back. I think it's one of those shows that if you didn't watch it, I don't think you've necessarily missed anything. So I think that's probably the truth about the show. It's one of those that I think is just sort of there. Wow, I love that, though. Jeff Hardy trying to dive over, was trying to get involved, and he couldn't get a hold of him. That was a good-looking spot. So it looked like he was trying to interfere on the outside, Jeff Hardy, but he couldn't. He didn't make it in time. Kick out. Isaiah going for a clothesline. Notice how Collision roster wants to leave for WWE, said Justin. Lance said, you know it's rough when the praise is I'm not offended by it. Oh, well, there's been a lot of Dynamites where I have been. There's been a lot of Dynamites that I've really, as people are, you know, I'm not saying anything people don't know. You know, there's been a lot of Dynamites where I have been, like, really just not feeling it. And, you know, even questioning, do we continue doing the streams on a Wednesday? I mean, I don't want to hate watch. I'm not interested. I know I keep saying that. I don't want to hate watch. So if I'm watching the show and it's all right, like, it's not upsetting me. I'm not offended by it. There's nothing here that I think is really garbage. Like, the matches are okay and segments are just okay. I'll take that. That's a dub. That's a dub. I thought MJF's promo was good. Well, that was good. As I said, Moxley's match was okay. Darius crashing into... I think did he just jump off Matt to hit Jeff? Rolled through by Isaiah, kick to the midsection. Goes for a clothesline round the back, gets picked up, back elbow, boot to the midsection, another back elbow, drop kick into a German. And gets planted down. 1, 2, 3. And it's a win for the face team. I think they're both face teams. It's a win for Action Andretti and Top Flight. Okay. A fine return to form for Dante Martin. Donald said, the issue is it seems every Dynamite you can skip and you aren't missing much. No storylines to make you interested. Okay, we're at commercial break. This match is not so good. I don't think, said Justin. Maybe it's just me. Big Time said, this Dynamite has been... Right. Let's do sitcoms. I'm a big AEW fan, but let's be honest, said Lance. Sometimes it can be rough. Mitchell said, a bad Dynamite is where the fuse didn't light the TNT. A. Jobson said, Hardy's against Top Flight was great. Let's do a sitcom poll. If anyone was interested, that was fun last night. Well, I feel like that we've done sitcoms, haven't we? I feel like we've done that. That was done yesterday. I said that we might venture and have a look at, like, TV comedy list or something tonight, but to be honest, with only like 45 minutes left to go, I don't think we would be able to give it the time that it deserves. So we've got a few segments coming up, like the Christian promo, which I think could be interesting. So Christian promo could be... I mean, Christian's an excellent heel. I think that'll be worth listening to. We'll watch Julia Hart. I mean, I'm not a fan, but we'll see where she's at. I mean, she must be improving, so we'll see where she's at. And then, what was that main event? Is it Swerve and hello, is my mouse dead? Where is my mouse? Is it dead? Oh, there it is. I didn't have a... I don't know if you ever happens. I didn't have a cursor. I was like, where's it gone? Swerve and Jay White is our main event, so that could be good as well. I like both of them. I like Swerve. I like Jay White. I've got high hopes for this last part of the show. Lance said, is there any streams on a Thursday? There's a members stream. There's a members stream, and then we've got SmackDown on Friday. Okay, we're backstage with the winners. Here is Penta. Okay. Is that Vikingo? And Commander? Yeah. Yeah. Vikingo, Commander, and Penta stepping up saying 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Right, Julia Hart now. House rules match. It can't be won by submission. Vikingo is so good, he can do things like a video game. Video game. I'm excited for SmackDown, said Harry. Mitchell said, I love Vikingo. Commander and Vikingo. Yep, said Rick. Lots of love for Vikingo. Lots of love. Okay, here's Emi Sakura. She is the girl that used to come out dressed as Freddie Mercury, wasn't she? Now she's coming out in like a crown. She doesn't think much of that crown. She just chucked it on the floor. She threw her cape at the security guy. "25-year experience edge over Julia Hart." TBS championship on the line then. Julia Hart against Emi Sakura. Mitchell said the 100 sitcom list. Where was Friends? 36-ish, if my memory serves you right. It's about 35, 36. Can't wait to see you get 300,000 subs, said Lance. Oh. Don't focus on that, to be honest. I'm just grateful that people join us on a daily basis. Julia grabs Emi Sakura and throws her into the corner. Kicks to the midsection. Aubrey, the referee for this one. Sakura goes over to the other side. Against the ropes goes Julia. She collides into Emi Sakura. Takes her over. Kick to the back. And Emi Sakura stares at Julia Hart. Chop coming in by Emi Sakura. Another chop coming in. So, some chops by Emi Sakura. Grabs the arm. Emi Sakura goes down. Shot to the back there by Julia Hart. Who's your picks for the Rumble? Mine is CM Punk and either Bayley or Jade Cargill. Bayley and I would like Gunther. Into the ring steps goes Julia Hart. Lee said, I want to say I'm just working nights. You get me through. I've been watching for a few years now. I got diagnosed with chronic lung disease. Keep up the solid work. Dudes. How does that kind of show itself? Does that, like, what's that? Like, does that leave you like short of breath? How do you manage that? Well, I don't know what that means. I mean, it sounds awful, and I'm very sorry to hear that. But what does that? Does that mean like you just get out of breath quickly? Like, and it's, I don't know. What is that? I'm interested in that. I'm really sorry to hear that, dude. Genuinely. It says, I don't know. There's a lot of different things. There's something here called COPD. Is that what it is? It mentions this COPD a lot. And they're making you work. Can't get benefits. What is this world that we're living in? Yeah, Lee, shout out to you, man. I think I'm interested in knowing a bit more. I had asthma. It's a more serious condition. It is COPD. That is what I've got. I'm really sorry to hear that, dude. That must be really difficult. Well, I hope your night shift's going well, buds. Big Time said PW Insider have just reported Nick Khan and Triple H are in LA looking to secure media rights. FX headquarters just so happen to be there as USA, Warner Brother Discovery are in New York, Amazon is in Seattle. Right, so what, Disney? That would be Disney, wouldn't it? That didn't they want it going over to FX? Man, if they sign with Disney, what does that mean? What does that mean? Because could you imagine the Disney machine being behind WWE if it is Disney that's going to get them? Why do you think AEW didn't capitalize on Takeshita's momentum? I think they tried to. They put him with Don Callis. They had him win at Wembley. Didn't he have a match? Was it a singles match at All Out? AEW All Out. Am I remembering that right? That it was a singles match. It was Takeshita beat Kenny in a singles match, 22 minutes at All Out. That was September. I suppose you could make the argument, what have we really done with him since then? But certainly around that point, it felt like we were really doing some stuff, you know? I mean, I can understand why they've not put him up against MJF, because maybe they really are trying to build him up to be a future champion. Perhaps they're really trying to build him up to be, like, you know, a champion. And if you put him up against MJF right now, he would end up losing, and perhaps they don't want to do that. So perhaps they've just trying to be finding something else for him to do. Mitchell said, imagine a Vince mascot at Disney World. Listen, if they sign Raw, they won't have the rights to WWE, but man, they could put could you not negotiate some sort of Hall of Fame, some sort of exhibition to be in Disney World? I mean, what does it, I mean, you've got downtown Disney in Florida, which is like a shopping area, and they had like an NBA experience thing there. Like, it would be easy to put a WWE thing there. It's super, super easy to put a WWE thing in there. It'd be exciting, actually, to, like, if there was a partnership there to strengthen that. Kick coming in there by Julia. FX is in 71 million homes, the same as USA and TBS. It's worth noting that FX is not TV 14 and airs mature content. Okay. I don't know that WWE would lean into that, because they're still going to want to have their sponsors and their advertisers. They're still going to want to appeal to as wide a audience, I think, as possible. Interesting, but I don't think that they will move away from where they are. Right, Julia, one. Raw live at Disney World. Could you imagine that? A WWE experience at Disneyland. Mitchell said the NBA experience was at City Walk. It was, but it closed, didn't it? And it became Chaka Waka Doodah or something. But over at Downtown Disney, there was Disney Quest. And that, I don't know if it became NBA, but it was becoming NBA. Because Disney Quest was shutting down. But I don't know where we got to with that. This Maria May is very grateful to RJ City. This means the world to me. I'm just happy to help. Okay, so she's going in to see Tony Khan. This Maria girl. Okay, time for Christian. Rick said, I think the Middle East Park WWE amusement thing is owned by Disney. The Saudi thing, I don't think Disney are behind that. I don't think Disney are really, like, very opinionated, aren't they? I don't know that they would want to go to Saudi. I don't know, maybe they are. WCW Nitro did shows at MGM Studios at Disney World, said Travis. Lee said, you must be about my age. I'm 38. Oh, I'm 21. I've been following wrestling since the 1980s, and I'm a huge fan with magazines, DVDs, figures, and everything, Lee. You're in the right place, buds. I think there's a lot of us like that in this boat. Figures, magazines, DVDs. I've got VHSs knocking around somewhere. Yeah, it's the good days, man. I love the golden era. I'm a golden era stan. I've got an appreciation for the Attitude Era. It's not one that I am as crazy about as other people. Other people like worship it, whereas I'm a lot more, you know. If someone went, do you want to come down and watch something from 1999, or do you want to watch something from 1989? I'm way more into the 89. Probably why my opinions are so dated. It's probably why my outlook on wrestling is quite old school. I think like ECW in the Attitude Era, I think that really shaped where we are now in wrestling. Christian's in the ring. Let's see what he's got to say. So who's he want? Adam Copeland. Does he want? Is he calling out Copeland? There's 5 security guards. Only one of them looks like he could handle himself. One of them looks like Jack Gallagher with a shaved head. He's calling out Adam, but Adam's not coming out. Adam! I'd like to speak to you in this ring, if you wouldn't mind. James said, I got the entire Attitude Era box set years ago, and then the network came out, and I've never opened it. Yeah, man. I know that feeling. I bought all them flipping tag classics. I know that feeling. Big Time Baxter said, Maria May needs a man to tame her. Bishop said, how long are AEW going to promote Fight Forever? The game has already been out for 5 months. Well, I suppose if they don't have anything else to promote, they might as well just keep promoting that. And it was, in all fairness, recently on Black Friday sale. And you do have Christmas coming up as well. So if there was something else to put there instead, I could understand them doing it. But, and hasn't there just been like a new patch or something, a new download? I saw the Acclaimed. Okay, so Christian is behind a load of security guards. This wasn't my idea, said Christian. Management wanted me to have this security. So Christian's telling them to go. Okay. Last week you challenged me to a match. I'm here to tell you we won't make it to Montreal. Christian stepping up to Adam Copeland. We won't make it because I'm sorry. Didn't expect that. BS chant. He said last week you took out the kill switch. Yeah, but the kill switch, they walked away together, didn't they? He calls him Luchasaurus. And he gets frustrated at himself. He corrects himself. You effed up, chant. So he's talking about how he needed some fresh air. It turned into a road trip of reflection. He went on a road trip. He needed some fresh air. He reflected. So he's reminiscing about times they had together. Clearly, this is going to turn. I don't know when that turn's come in. We were going to make it. We didn't know how, but it reminded me of our drives together. Storylines continue on Collision. Not everything happens on Dynamite. It's not a split brand, says Real Kyle. Well, I would have liked a video package then. There's only 317,000 people watch Collision. So that means a lot of people are thinking the same as me. Like, didn't he walk out with them? Where have they gone? Everyone knows you didn't have a father figure. I'm not suggesting I'm your father. I'm your brother. My father became your father. To this day, he's still your biggest fan. This is good from Christian. I love you, man. It's good. It's compelling. I want to know where it's going. When your mom passed away, oof, I know it was one of the hardest times of your life. Edge kind of looks down, or Adam Copeland. So he's talking about teaming together. Let's do this for her. For the Jude Meister. For Judy. For the Jude Meister. Let's do it for her, man. Let's do it for her. Well, he's all kinds of confused, isn't he? He's all kind of twisted. This is why he came in. He wanted to team with Christian. Oh, Christian went to hit Adam with the belt. Adam caught Christian. Oh, well, that plan backfired, didn't it? He spent all that time setting that up for that. Oh, he looks like a loser now. He's just executed this plan that's just completely backfired. Next week, this is coming home with me. Go F yourself. There's a big pop to that. Obviously, it plays back to what Christian said to Adam Copeland. I don't think the Jude Meister would appreciate that kind of language. There we go. Go F yourself. Next week, Christian Cage, Adam Copeland on Dynamite. Bum, bum, bum. GTA 5 is better than GTA 4 in terms of characters and flexibility, but GTA 4 has goated storylines, said Big Time Baxter. Scottish Nightmare said another F word, very naughty. They let that one through, said Erase Your Minds. Go F yourself, it wasn't bleeped. Oh, did they not bleep it? We always have it. They don't bleep it on Fight. They didn't bleep the last one. So it made it in America, did it? Oh, naughty, naughty. There's times when Raw can be downright unbearable. Some weeks I say to myself, this is my break-in point and I'm done with Raw. And then I come back next week because it's habit and it's routine, says Big Time. Yeah, but that doesn't work for everyone, does it? I mean, this is why the ratings have been declining, because I think people get to that point and they then stop watching. So everyone's got a point where they're like, do you know what, I'm done. I think everyone's got that point with every show and everything. So it's good that it's still got you enough whereby you can keep coming back. But the concern is that at some point you won't. And then, that's obviously wrestling's lost another fan. Or WWE's lost another fan. Maybe you'll still watch some other products, but promotions, but this is the concern. I mean, I don't have a picture as to where we are with wrestling in regards to people are watching things differently now. They watch highlights, they watch video clips, they're on social media more, they spend time on that, Clearly social media has taken people away from TV. Clearly it's taken people away from doing other things. And so this is why clips and all that are so important, because that's where a lot of eyes are on like social media. But what does that mean for wrestling? Like, how do you monetize that? I mean, I don't know. I don't know how WWE can replace its falling viewership and make money off like X. I mean, I think you have to have sponsored tweets and all that, don't you, to make money? I don't think you can just make money by getting your tweets being viewed. It's got to be some adverts somewhere. I don't know. But it's going to be hard to see that replacing TV money if TV money did start to fall. So this is why we were talking about this earlier about like maybe wrestling's heading for a bit of a heart attack moment as ratings come down and things are like, just spread out now. People are on TikTok, people are on YouTube, people are on X. How do you continue to get attention? How do you continue to monetize if people aren't coming and watching your show? But that's a concern for the future. It's not, I don't think that's something we need to worry about for the next 5 years or so. But if things keep trending in this direction, more and more people, I think, are having those kinds of thoughts. But I think wrestling's in a good place. I mean, I think WWE's in a good place. I think, the next year feels like it's going to be a big year. Obviously, once we move, it's going to be interesting to see what the ratings are. On Fox, SmackDown has held. Raw seems to have struggled. But can we get somewhere with that next year? With CM Punk being back? Can we get some good stories going? I mean, to be honest, if Raw had a Bloodline story, I think its ratings would be better. Here's Swerve Strickland. This is our main event. We got 15 minutes to go. 15 minutes left. Swerve versus Switchblades. Matt said, days, it's St. Parbin's Day. Is it? St. Parbin's Day tomorrow. It's when we turn our root vegetables slightly to the east. Have you turned your veg yet? And will the family be gathering? No, the family don't gather for the annual turning of the vegetables. We gather for more meat-based celebrations than vegetable-based celebrations. So it's not one that we particularly... we don't really have much veg in the garden either, so we like to just turn what's in the fridge. We just rotate that slightly more towards the east. But we don't get the family around for that. That's more of a... It's more of a personal ceremony. So I hope you have a good one, Matt. I hope you have a good one, buds. I know it is a big deal in the Matt Carney household. And bigger than Christmas, actually. But not for us, unfortunately. As we said, a lot more meat-based traditions we have. The Swerve shirt is nice, Cedric. I didn't see the Swerve shirts. I'll have to keep an eye out for the Swerve shirt. They were having a Black Friday sale, weren't they? Over on AEW. Will it be on AEW Shop? AEW Shop. Let's have a little look. AEW new arrivals. There's a new Hook figure. They got lots of these DVDs. Lots of DVDs. Ooh, what's this? What's this? What's this? Tony Storm timeless poster print, hand numbered. I would buy that if it was flipping signed by her, but I don't think it is it? Digital print available in the US. Why have they not got her to sign those? They could easily get her to sign those. That's great. I would so get that. It looks great. Her signature in gold at the bottom. $35. Push it up to $50. Lovely. I'd have that. Merry Kirstmas. So there's a new Danhausen Christmas jumper. Where do I want to go here? Can I click on just everything? Like, what's your bestsellery stuff? Jay White and Switchblades are underway. These... Oh, baubles! There we go. Look at this. You can get some baubles. Christmas baubles. Danhausen. Big, black, and jacked. Will Hobbs. Orange Cassidy shirt. It's quite nice. These are cool, but why aren't they signed by people? I don't get it. Don't get it. These matchups, limited art print things, why aren't they signed? Tony Storm gets her flowers. Memorable moment art print. Why is it not signed? Perhaps there's a market for art prints. I don't know. Ooh, timeless Tony Storm holiday sweat. I think we've seen it before. I like it though. Def Jiu-Jitsu, Bang Bang Gang, Ruby Soho. Ruby Soho. Let's just quickly look at Tony Storm. Tony Storm. We've looked at these bits before. I think the good stuff's more towards the top, but like, that should be signed. That should be signed. But they're not. All Elite crates. Mystery crates for die-hard AEW fans. If they start getting them signed, that'll be sick. That'll be really good. Weekly bestsellers. It's just a lot of the stuff we've already looked at. I can't see any new Swerve. Oh, is it that one? Is it this one? This Whose House shirt. Picture in picture. These are the best sellers at the moment, apparently. And all these as well. Better than you, baby. Okay, picture in picture. We got 10 minutes left to go. Rick said signatures are self-serve. You buy the print and then you take it to get signed. Yeah, but they've only been here once at Wembley. You're telling me I've got to buy the print and then buy a flight to get to America and then hope I bump into her? What the flip? Maybe that's why they're only sold in the US. Swerve on the outside with switchblades, bat breaker. Do wrestlers regret leaving when they go to AEW? Some of them don't have a choice. You know, some of them get, unfortunately, let go. Like, I think it was Ruby Soho let go and Miro and Andrade. So they don't have a choice. So they have a choice. They could go to AEW. They could go to Impact. So they don't, you know. And I think if you're someone like Edge and Danielson, I think you've really thought about it. I don't think it's a decision you take lightly. And I think that there's, you know, you're getting paid well. And I think there's some excitement at helping build something, helping to establish something, play your part in the history of this other promote. Your WWE legacy is secured. You've done that. You've achieved what you've achieved. Now you can come in and really help establish a different company and have a legacy in a different company. I mean, in all fairness, it is good to be a lifer with WWE, like, you know, Undertaker or whatever. But if you can make a name for yourself in New Japan and establish yourself in Japan, if you can make a name for yourself in WWE, if you can make a name for yourself in Mexico, like, you know, if you can make a name for yourself around the world in other promotions, and, you know, that's just really good for your brand. It's just really good for your brand. I mean, like, Andre the Giant is known all over the world because he wrestled all over the world. I mean, Andre the Giant is idolized in Japan. He used to go over to Japan and used to work over there. Used to work in Australia and Mexico and Canada. I mean, he went all over the place, did stuff in Europe. He went all over the place. So I think it's obviously WWE started going, you know, international. So, you know, everyone knows Undertaker as well. But I think if you've done WWE, you've got an opportunity to establish yourself with a different fan base. There's plenty of people in the world that don't like WWE. Plenty of people. There's plenty of people like in AEW that don't watch WWE anymore. These are the lapsed fans, you know. So I don't think they regret it. Some might. Some might think that chose to leave, might think I made a bad choice, but most of them didn't choose to leave. And I think the ones that did probably really, really thought about it, you know. I don't think Edge would. I don't think Danielson would. I do wonder about Adam Cole. I do wonder a little bit about him because I think he would have been treated well under Triple H especially, but when he went, it was Vince that was booking. I think he had less confidence in that. But looking at it now and seeing Triple H in charge, he might wonder, you know, he was the guy in NXT. He might think to himself, oh. But he's been used well in AEW in the sense of he's right up there with the champ, you know? Not like he's can't even get onto TV or anything. He's right up there with MJF. Like what I will say about the MJF Adam Cole thing is that it has really put Adam Cole right around that main event picture and kept him there for a long time, you know? I'll give it props for that. Looking for a Uranagi charging over. Swerve gets out the way. Look at Brit Baker's tweet, says James. Let's do that. Let's do that. Brit Baker. Brit Baker, 5 minutes ago. Tonight's Dynamite. MJF live promo time, 7 minutes. Christian Cage live promo time, 10 minutes. All of 2023 Dynamite Brit Baker promo time, 0 minutes. Bum, bum, bum. What are they doing with her, actually? Is she injured or something? Is she working? Is she trying to set something up there? Is she trying to just create a talking point? Or is she genuinely peeved? Gonna like it. You should have had more opportunity this year. I like that. I like that tweet because it's not offensive. And I'm not trying to be offensive. But I like the fact that I've been able to use Queen in there as well. But there's nothing to be offended about with that tweet. You should have had more promo time this year. You should have had more opportunity this year. Queen, Queen, Queen. We don't call enough wrestlers Queen. Queen. Right. How long we got? 3 minutes. These two throwing away at each other. She's been taking care of Adam Cole, says Mitchell. He needs to grow up and take care of himself. Yeah. She's got her own career to worry about. I don't disagree with her. I really like Brit Baker, and I genuinely don't know why we've not seen more of her. And I'm sort of still hoping that she's going to be revealed to be the devil, because I think that would be a good spot for her to get put into. And I think not long ago, she was like, who was it? Was it CM Punk said to MJF, you're too stupid to realise that you've been replaced as one of the pillars by Brit Baker? And do you know what? It made sense, because she was great. It made sense. And you sort of went, yeah, she should be one of the pillars. But yeah, she's just not been around. I stand by my tweet. She should have had more opportunity this year. Queen! You go, Queen! Right, Switchblades. Working on the arm of Swerve. Queen Booker T. Queen Booker. Slay Queen. They just don't have any creative plans, said Big Time. Every time Brit has been on TV lately, I feel like she's stale. She was good. Yeah, do you know, I mean, like, we did that little Outcast thing, and then it's just died. Her with Jamie, do you remember when she was with Reba and Jamie? Like, that was all good. Even before Jamie came along, all that was good as well. She was someone that I really enjoyed watching. She was a highlight for me. And I don't know where she went. I don't know why she went. You sick. So it's got Switchblade in the corner. We're running out of time here. We've only got a minute. Oh, hello. Swerve. Oh, low blow coming in by the Switchblade, but Swerve catches the leg. Picks up Switchblade, backbreaker. Swerve back in the corner. Whose house? Swerve's house. Boom! Kick coming in. Swerve going up top. Swerve is perched. Switchblade is sat up staring at Swerve. Double stomp there by Swerve. 1, 2. Oh, shoulder up by Switchblades. That really felt like it was going to be the end. But shoulder up there by Switchblades. Swerve back up on his feet, going over to Switchblade Jay White. Gonna get the scores set up. Both guys level in this. Oh, Blade Runner, but Swerve rolls out the ring. He goes under the bottom rope and flops to the outside. He gets chucked right back into the ring. He's trying to get him at the moment. He's picking him up. Switchblade is battling away, rolling up Swerve. 1, 2, kick out. Switchblade goes down. Swerve rolls over. 1, 2, kick out again. Crowd are on their feet for this one. Oh, almost getting the Blade Runner. Still no joy. Back elbow there by Jay. Chop coming in there by Jay. Chop coming back by Swerve. These two exchanging some chops in the middle of the ring. 5 minutes left here, so we are into an overrun. Score draw? Do you reckon like it'll run out of time? Time limit draw. Looking for the Blade Runner, but he can't get it. Swerve rolls up, Switchblade. Oh, he got it! Wow, Swerve got it. I really thought that they were going the distance. That's a big win for Swerve. Swerve beats Switchblades. Damn, Switchblade, what's wrong, man? I mean, I'm not down on Swerve winning because I think Swerve is right to be invested in. So I'm not down on it, but like, where does Switchblade go from here? 2 wins for Moxley, 2 wins for Swerve, a win and a loss for Switchblade, and a win and a loss for Roosh. 2 losses for Jay Lethal and 2 losses for Mark Briscoe. Next week, Christian Cage, Adam Copeland. That's going to be big. It's going to be big. That's a big for the TNT Championship. Danielson, Kingston on Saturday. It's been built pretty well. We'll see you Friday night for Rampage. Well, there we go. Get in your scores. Get in your thoughts. What did you think of that show? Did you enjoy it? I hope so. What did you think of that show? Dub for Swerve, said Rick. Switchblade's next promo. I should have gone to WWE. They had Switchblade lose again. John said, what are your scores for Dynamite? Let's go Swerve. WWE, AEW fan, shout out to you. KW said Swerve deserves the dub, but poor Jay. Yeah, that's how I feel. It's difficult, isn't it? Because you can't have everyone win. And I am very grateful that there's not outside interference, because it feels like that's a match where the Guns probably would have got involved or something. So I love the fact that we don't have outside interference in this tournament. It does make you question, why can't we just do that normally? But let's take the wins. Let's take the dubs. Let's take the positives. And that is that we don't have outside interference for this. So that is great. The main event shouldn't have happened. Both men can't lose, said Jonathan. Travis says 3. Greg says 8. George said 7. Big Time said the show had some bright spots. Fantastic match, though, said James. It was a great basketball match. I thoroughly enjoyed it, said Miss Clown. Hope you well, Miss Clown. Very solid Dynamite, said A. Jobson. I'm out. Everyone have a great night, said Mitchell. Mitchell, shout out to you. Have a great evening, buds. 7 says Real Kyle. 7 says Tahil. James said, I saw the Young Bucks are getting repackaged. They're getting a new gimmick. Danny D said 7 to 7.5. For me, it was a good show. Some good promos and good matches. Danny D, shout out to you. Donald said, do you agree that Copeland Cage on free TV, or should it be saved for a pay-per-view? Well, I think that TV is very important. We know that everyone looks at the ratings all the time. And we know that if they're trying to get a new TV deal, we know, we can't sit and say the ratings don't matter or TV doesn't matter when we talk about the ratings all the time. So TV definitely matters. And we talk a lot about ratings going down. And, in fact, we spoke a lot about it on this stream. So I think it's fine to put it onto TV. I think that for me, where it becomes a problem, maybe they could have booked it a few weeks out. Maybe the challenge was, I suppose, in a way that as soon as Edge arrived, people have been waiting for him and Christian. So you can make the argument that since he first came in, this is the match people have been waiting for. But I think you could have it in 2 weeks' time. And you could have it so that, next week we get another promo and we build towards it. So I don't think it's a problem that it's on TV. But everything is so quick. Everything moves at such a fast pace that, it's like clearly they've been teasing it for a while. So I do understand that argument. If someone wanted to argue that, I do understand. But really, the challenge was issued. It only got really accepted tonight. And then, boom, it's happening next week. Maybe there'll be some skullduggery and then it gets rebooked or the rematch gets booked for the pay-per-view. We could absolutely go that way. But I'm not down on it being on TV, no. I'm not down on it being TV because you can't really have the argument of talking about ratings all the time, talking about how important TV is. And then when they put something really good on TV, go, why have they done that, So, no, I'm not down on that. I think it's a different argument for MJF and Kenny, although it's still the same sort of example because that was on Collision, and that feels like you're really going to struggle to get people to tune in on that Saturday, right? But you could make the argument they did it as an experiment. Let's do it. Let's book the biggest match. Let's book what would be a pay-per-view main event. We'll put it on Collision and we'll get the data. We'll get the views, the best views we can, and we'll get the data and we don't need to wonder what it'll do. Let's do it and see what it does. So you can make that argument. But I think the problem there was that it was so fast as well. That was another example of a match that was kind of put together and it was like it was happening on Saturday. That had no real build to it either. Again, you can make the argument people wanted to see MJF, Kenny Omega for a long time, but the matches made, let's book it for 2-3 weeks down the road. It was literally a week later again. Everything just moves so fast. So for me, it's not a problem that it's on TV. I think the fact that it's so quick is the bigger problem. I would like to see this thing breathe and have some room to, for us to do some promos and for us to build and keep shouting the matches coming, the matches coming. So it being on TV is not an issue. 6 out of 10 said Face Coasters. It was okay until Christian Copeland boosted it up. Swerve and White was great as well. What do you think about the show? I agree. I think I was probably around a 5. Which I know might sound low, but a 5 is probably just the bottom end of me being okay with the show. I think if a show is really bad, you're going into the 4s, the 3s, the 2s, the 1s. But so for me, 5, 5.25, I was kind of around that sort of area. It was watchable. It was okay. It was not anything to write home about. If I hadn't have watched the show, it wasn't a problem. I could easily have skipped it. But yeah, I think I probably settled on it being a 5.75. It's probably pushed me up to about that, around that sort of 6 range as well. I think that main event was good. I thought that the Christian promo was good, but I didn't like where it led to because I was waiting for we all knew that he wasn't being genuine. And I was like, he's going to come out with a savage line or someone's going to jump him or something good's going to happen. They're setting up something. He's clearly put a lot of thought into what he wants to say. So I'm guessing he's put a lot of thought into the trap that he's setting. But the trap he was setting was that he just got Adam to just momentarily think about it so that he could try and nail him with the belt. I mean, it just seems really flat. If, like, as traps go, that's one of the worst I've ever seen. So that to me was a real, we did all that just to do that. Like, I don't know. I think we could have had something better. Could have had something more interesting as the payoff. But still, his promo was good. And MJF's promo was good. But the Retribution-esque devil thing wasn't. The Julia Hart match, it wasn't terrible. It was okay. The Moxley match was okay. It was all right. By and large, it was all right. It was watchable. It was fine. With a few moments that you go, that was good. That was good. But then a couple of moments go, that wasn't very good. So they probably just cancels each other out. Probably falls in that kind of midsection for me. I think if you want to really sing the praises of the highlights, you can. Maybe you can just overlook those little bits that were just not as strong. So maybe there's people out there that really enjoyed the show tonight, but for me, it was middle of the road. It's fine. All right. If I missed it, I wouldn't be upset. I feel like next week looks pretty good. I think like Christian and even if like I would have liked a bit longer build for that, I think that you can, as I said, make the argument that the second he came in, people were waiting for that match. So really the build's been all that time. So it doesn't matter that it was only announced this week or tonight. But that's a big match in it. I mean, that could easily be, I don't know if it would main event a pay-per-view, but it would be co-main event. It would be like one of the big matches at a pay-per-view. So the fact we're getting in next week's really good. So something to look forward to. Right, we've had 100 votes. That'll do. That's fine. 100 votes, lovely. What did you score? AEW Dynamite 72775, 25%, 6-675, 25%, 575 well below 25%, 8-10, 23%. Wow, that is about as close as I've ever seen. I mean, it must mean that it was like 25.2%, 25.8%, 25.7%, and then it's just left 23 point something percent, you know? So that's why it's not 25, 25, 25, 25, but it's about as close to 25, 25, 25, 25 as you could hope to see. So a real mixed opinion for tonight's Dynamite. Rob said, I'm enjoying the C2 Classic. It really makes for a nice contrast to WWE Sports Entertainment. If you're a fan of both AEW, you should continue in that stateside version of New Japan wrestling sports-orientated format. So the Continental, is this what we're talking about? The Continental Classic? Is that what you're referring to? Is that what the C2 is? I've never heard it called that. But I do like, I mean, there's some good matches in there, and I do like the fact that we're not getting outside interference. James said, I'm at about a 6.5. Does AEW book so many tournaments it feels like a cop-out? I don't know. I think it's a good way of making matches feel like they've got something riding on them. You know, you really don't want to do too many matches that just don't have anything going for them. And I think that wrestling constantly is looking... WWE tends to do backstage interactions that then lead to matches. So their matches don't really mean anything, but they try to at least get some purpose for them. They don't do that so much with AEW. We don't really see people backstage falling out, which then leads to a match, which is the WWE way. They tend to use tournaments a bit more. So we've got all these matches now. I think there's like 30 odd matches across both blocks, which, you know, each one's going to be worth tuning in for because it will have repercussions and it does mean something. You know, 3 points for a win, no points for a loss, 1 point for a draw. So I don't mind it. I don't know that it's a cop-out. I mean, it's there to kill time and fill TV time. But I don't know that that's really a problem. Don't know that that's a problem. All right. I really don't hate on it, so it's all right. Right, well, we're done. I'm going to wrap it up there. I've got a few bits to... I've got a list that I've got in front of me of things that I need to be doing. So I'm going to go off and start working on those. We're back tomorrow with a member stream. We're back on Friday with SmackDown. I still have not looked into what we're doing on Saturday. I mean, we've been so busy with just big streams. I mean, we've had like a big UFC stream not long ago. We had a big boxing stream. We've had Survivor Series. Didn't we have Full Gear as well? I mean, it's been some massive monster streams. So, I don't know what this weekend is. It might be UFC. There might be some boxing. We'll have to have a look. That's on my list. So I need to go off and have a look at that, start planning for that. So I really appreciate people joining us as always. I hope you got something from this show. Have a great evening wherever you are.